apology, still everybody's mad at me. Can't react to my body, 'cause it's begging me, begging me to cheat. You'll see just how perfect I can. Was it too much to love me too? Love me too.
But when you come out, I see the stars. There are
Good evening and welcome to week 2 of the Belong Arena Crash. I'm Bacon Ruffo. With me on the desk today.
Hi, I'm Val. Nice to meet you.
There we go. Nice formal introduction for everybody. So I hope you're strapped in and ready to go with a really exciting day of games. We've got Leviathans versus Brawlers up first, and we're going to be following that with Rams versus Swarm. If you tuned in last week, we had... Apologies, I've just been told we're actually doing Rams versus Swarm first, followed by Leviathans versus Brawlers. So, sorry to tease you like that. We are getting both games eventually, but in the opposite order. If you tuned in last week, you'll have seen Invincibles versus Enigma, with Invincibles taking that 4-0, and Claymore versus Nighthawks also taking that 4-0. But of course, in the weeks since those games have happened, we've had a fairly big change in the game, haven't we, Vels?
Absolutely. We've seen a change. It may sound like a small change at first, but it's definitely going to affect some of the teams that like to run the free compositions more heavily. Of course, armor's now stacked on top of shields, not underneath, and what that means is that rather than having these invincible Zayas and Zenyatas running around, you can start chipping away at that health earlier. They don't last quite as long, and it's got only a small change, but it's going to be pretty impactful, I feel.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've tried for quite a long time now to get my head around exactly what these changes mean, because it seemed like, as Val was saying, it seems like a small change. I think it's going to be impactful, but I don't really know yet what it means. So let's have a look at our current standings. This is our Group 1 standings, and as we mentioned, we had Claymores playing last week. They've played 1-1-1. So obviously with 1 week to go, it's a little tricky to say exactly who is lying where in the standings, but that's what we've got at the minute. Top 3, Claymores, Invincibles, Hunters. Bottom 3, Saints, Enigmas, Nighthawks. Still a lot of time left to go in the season, still really could go any way.
Yeah, it's most surprising to me to see the Saints losing their first match. Obviously the returning champions, they've got a lot to prove, so maybe we see a Saints victory this week. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. Try and get things back on track, but that definitely surprises. It's a little bit of an upset in week 1.
Yeah, but one thing I am happy to see is the team that have named themselves Invincibles currently undefeated. They managed not to take that all the way through to the finals last season, but it's a lot to live up to if you're going to name yourself Invincibles. Looking at Group 2, same sort of disparate standings. We've got 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom, which is what you'd expect after one game each. Spartans, Vikings, Harriers at the top, Leviathans, Centurions, Brawlers at the bottom. For me personally, I'm quite happy to see Vikings up near the top of the table. That's a lot of those guys are from very near to where I grew up, so if I've got a home team, it's going to be these guys.
Yeah, and another finalist from the last bit, Spartans. Pretty strong start. Top of the group, 1 win. Yeah, happy with that?
Yeah, pretty much what we'd expect given what we saw from Spartans last year. Again, it's going to be interesting. We've had a lot of shake-ups, not just in the Spartans roster, but in the rosters of all the teams because of the nature of this. Everybody's sort of moving around every season, every year, so still could go either way. And finally, for Group 3, you'll notice that right there in the middle of the table we have Steelers currently with 0 games played, Guardians and Kestrels up at the top, Lionhearts and Armada down at the bottom, so even less information as to how people are going to be doing in this group. And finally, same situation looking at Group 4. Arrows didn't manage to get a game in last week. Pirates and Swarm at the top of the table here. Smugglers and Rams down at the bottom.
Yeah, and the 2 main teams we want to look at here, the Swarm and the Rams. The first match we're going to see today, obviously. Swarm, my local team, doing pretty well. Off to a great start. Rams losing their first matchup. Maybe want to prove themselves a little bit. See if they can put up a better performance this week.
Yeah, and with 1 match down, some of these matches having not been broadcasted, we've not had a lot of chance to actually catch up on how they've done. I think we can actually expect to see, maybe we can't expect anything, we can expect to see some upsets based on last week because these teams are still pretty untested.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's still very fresh. First matchup, maybe you've got the nerves of some of these newer players, not really sure how they're going to do. It can get to you in those match environments. You never know how a match is going to go. You can practice and scrim all the time, but as soon as you're in that environment and the pressure starts getting to you, maybe you start to crumble a bit in first week. The second week now, teams will be used to that, they'll be much more prepared, and we won't see so many of those nerves. So maybe we see a little bit of a change up in the standings.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think is interesting about the Arena Clash format is obviously these teams are based around performance in the various Belong arenas. We don't really have any insight as to how much scrim time they get in and around just these weekly matches. We don't know if they're spending or every waking hour as a team working, finding scrim partners. I suspect that might not be the case.
I suspect for some of these teams, particularly those with all the players who may have 9-to-5 jobs, they don't find as much time to scrim as they'd like, and it's more a little bit theoretical, trying to come up with compositions that maybe people wouldn't expect. And that's one of the joys of tournaments like the Belonging Arena Clash. We don't always see the pro meta that you're used to, where everything is just free compositions. Teams have that freedom to come up with something new that people aren't going to see. Not going to have the scrim experience seeing.
Yeah, particularly when we have teams with such a disparate SR. So thinking about our first matchup, we've got Rams versus Swarm coming up first. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we can expect from this matchup? Who should we be looking for here?
It's going to be the main matchup we're looking for is those two names at the top of the rosters: King for the Rams and Wizard for the Swarm. Both very talented DPS players, going to be stand-up players for their team, and whoever wins that duel could effectively decide the series. I mean, I'm probably going to lean a little bit more toward Wizard, not only as a Swarms fan, but because I like the flexibility, I like the skill he's got in that Genji. If that comes out, it'll be interesting to see what these two rosters come up with. Yeah,
I do have a little bit of a heads up on what we can possibly expect coming out from Swarm. They have hinted that they're quite a fan of running the Mei variants of Goat. That's where you swap in the Mei for the D.Va to try and build up a little bit of space control. So it's going to be interesting to me to see whether Rams have any answers to that sort of composition.
Absolutely. When we talk about these teams not having too much scrim time and it's a little bit more theoretical, if you have something like Mei Goats, which is very hard to practice against, it's very hard to play against if you don't have the experience of predicting where the Mei walls are going to come from, that can definitely catch these teams off guard. However, Rams, a lot of these players played together previously in the Challenger Series, so even though this is their first time in the Championship, they've got that synergy, they know how to play around each other, and that kind of coordination can break apart the Mei Goats when you go up against it.
Yeah, but thinking about that Mei Goats composition, this is a map that I know is it's quite popular to run that on. We're going to be starting at Busan Mecha Base, so this may very well be a map that goes the direction of Swarm if this Mei Goats is as good as we expect it to be.
Absolutely, especially with some of the chokes that you've got to go through to get to the point, they're perfectly Mei wall sized. So if you can get control of the point and just set up by the chokes, predict where the opportunity is going to come in and block them off as soon as they come in, it gives you a huge defensive advantage. And then the impetus is on the attack to try and fake and dodge. Look like you're going to go through one choke, run for the other, try and catch the Mei off guard and see if you can get through that way.
But it looks like they're not possibly, well, with 5 seconds left to go, it looks like we might not actually see that matchup coming in. Rams just opting for the traditional Goats with a Moira in that healer position against Swarm, running a 2-2-2. Don't see that an awful lot anymore, but Ryan Zarya, pretty good, strong combination. Swarm taking an early position on the point, opting for the low ground approach. Rams kind of caught out, expecting a high ground engage. They are frantically looking for Swarm, but Swarm just setting up on point. Very strong position to start in here.
Yeah, we can see Rams just kind of roaming about a bit, trying to get a feel. They were expecting the mirror matchup, obviously going up against the 2-2-2, so just trying to figure out what exactly is going on. I do like the Moira pick from Miko, plenty of healing against this 2-2-2.
Yeah, speaking of which though, but a huge anti-nade there coming in from Bromy, manages to get pretty much everybody in it, so getting a little bit of participation in the kill feed with the help there from Speedwagon. Taking out the Reinhardt and the Brigitte so early on in the fight means that this Goats approach is going to be a little bit of a faltering start for Rams.
Yeah, and one of the key win conditions for the Swarm here is going to be Mbromy landing these huge nades. Sure, you've got Wizard and an Archer able to pop up on these DPS heroes, but being able to land a huge nade, deny all that healing from Miko on the Moira is so powerful. And
sorry, the length of that stagger onto the baby D.Va there was really quite painful to watch.
And that's another key part of running the Ana. You've got the sleep ability, you can stagger out these heroes just a little bit longer by the extra point charge.
Yeah, but that was a really successful first attack for Swarm. So Inatra coming out with the ultimate, and we're 86% of the way to the Nano Boost, 85% of the way to Genji's Dragon Blade. So lots of stuff for Swarm to play with here. They've got really a couple of fights before Rams have got any sort of ult advantage. Good stun there coming in from an Archer taking out. We've got the Dragon Blade committed to the fight, and the Nano Boost coming in over the top. Yet to find anything. Doing quite a good job of splitting the team up, but nothing out of that heavy investment of ultimates. Manchild taking down Sir Reclaimer is pretty big. We've got an Archer with the High Noon. Sadly, that Reinhardt shield coming up so quickly managed to rob any and all value coming out of the High Noon. Graviton Surge into the fight as well, and this looks like it might finally be going in Rams' favour. Big Earth Shatter coming in from Sir Reclaimer. Does manage to get out of danger, having been really stoked there. So actually, Swarm still in this fight. It looked like it was going to go in the direction of the Rams. Maybe they're finally starting to get a little bit more presence on the point. There's another big grenade getting quite a few people in it. Big charge, takes down Sangdoli right across the map. Really, really good. And Earthshatter online again for Manchild. They've finally done it. They finally cleared up.
And it was great from the Rams right at the start of the fight to suddenly disperse when the Nano Blade came through. Wizard couldn't find any value, especially with the healing coming out from Cannon Fodder's Inspire ability on that Brigitte. Couldn't really find any value, had to invest the Earthshatter and the Deadeye later on. We're seeing Inatra moving over to the Reaper now, a little bit strong against these tank competitions.
Yeah, but Rams look like they're about to get into this really dangerous tank ult cycling combo. We've already got the Earthshatter online. We've got another Dragon Blade from Wizard. This time, no Nano Boost to help power it up. So Reclaimer using some of the confusion caused by that Dragon Blade to get in and kill onto Foxworth, but it's not good enough. Amiko with the tutorial lessons manages to take out So Reclaimer. Amazing falling down as well. So Rams looking like they may hold here. Just Speedwagon left on the point to contest, and then it's going to be Rams taking 2 fights in a row.
A little bit of discoordination from Mazda, unfortunately. Speedwagon trying to go for a huge Graviton in the back, but Swarm weren't quite in the position to follow up. Wizard did come in with the Dragon Blade, but he was zoned away by the Coalescence coming from Amiko, and it fell apart, unfortunately. We're now going to see him moving along to the McCree. Not liking how the Genji's matching up against these tanks, wants the more consistent burst damage. Yeah,
but talking about those ult cycling antics coming in, Rams do have the Graviton Surge online. They've got a rally. Graviton comes in, manages to get 3 Earthshatter right into the Graviton. King doing their best to pour in some of the damage here, not actually resulting in too many kills, but Rams really, really pushing forward here. Swarm kind of on the back foot, but there is this Death Blossom online. We can see Inatra coming in, looking for the drop down. Going to pop that ult any second now. No, he's going to make a complete liar of me. Decided not to invest it. Still, wow, Wizard gets the double there, 1 out of the high noon. This is looking pretty good for Swarm on the comeback, and they've managed to do this without having to invest in Archer's Death Blossom.
It was really smart from Inatra, going for the quite obvious Death Blossom play, took up all Amazing's attention on the Diva. Opened up the window wide open for Wizard to get value out of that Deadeye. It's an ultimate that's normally quite easily shut down by Diva's defense matrix, but if Amazing is using all the defense matrix to try and counteract Inatra, you get a nice pick onto Lucio and you win the fight off the back of that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel a little bit bad for McCree. Everyone else gets an ultimate, he gets a really loud suicide button, so needs that extra help to actually get into it. But that is a big Graviton with 2 from Inatra. Wizard getting in on top of the action there, sucked into the Graviton, and at 97%, this is really, really last-ditch territory for Rams. It looks like Swarm are going to take Mecha Base on Busan.
Yeah, great combo actually. I believe that was the Earthshatter comboed with the Death Blossom. You can't run away from the Death Blossom if you're just lying down dead.
No, that's very true. Very little you can do when you've been put on your back by a big German man with a hammer.
Speaking from experience, Phil?
No comment, Vals,
okay,
no comment.
So moving on to downtown, I'm definitely expecting to see a 2-2-2 composition coming up again from Swarm. We're seeing Inatra moving over to the Genji, so lots of overlapping hero pools between Inatra and Wizard gives them a lot of flexibility. They've got a lot of options with their compositions.
Yeah, and this pick from Wizard on the Widow, it's pretty classic for Busan. I know Busan as a map has not been out that long, but Widowmaker on downtown is still a classic. No, do you know what? I'm going to stop talking about people's picks before the doors open, because they do things like this. They swap off the classic Widow onto a much less classic Doomfist.
So Rams coming out on the more conventional Ghost composition again. Still Amiko on that Moira is going to be crucial with all that healing, but Swarm coming out with a 2-2-2, but with actually the server claim on the Hammond. I love watching good Wrecking Ball play. We'll see if he lives up to the name.
Yeah, there was a big initial grenade there, managing to get quite a few in it, but not able to really capitalise on it by pouring in the then non-recoverable damage. The Wizard goes for a big punch onto the Diva, able to just sidestep out of the way, coming in with a seismic slam. That is almost all of the abilities offline for the Doomfist. He's now incredibly vulnerable, 4 seconds left before he can do anything, just trying to pepper in that damage, but with the chaos, the rest of his team are really starting to pile on the punishment, and actually Swarm are going to take this, and look how quickly Wizard built that. Sadly, no kills out of the Meteor Strike, but really, really impressive play from Wizard.
Yeah, very impressive from Wizard, filling up the kill feed, but I do want to give credit to Mbromi as well. Landed a huge nade in the middle of that, opened up the space for Wizard to pop up with his abilities, didn't allow any kind of healing to come through. Again, these antiviral nades are so crucial. They are a win condition in themselves.
So Reclaimer on the high ground has the... Ooh, there we go. We're going to see initiation of the power driver. Not going to see the... That's unfortunate. I did think we were going to see the mines committer there. Slightly too greedy, getting taken out by King, but another big grenade from Embroni throws in the sleep dart, managing not to get anybody with it. We've got to be careful because it is looking like Ult City for Rams. They've got the Graviton Surge. They've nearly got the Coalescence. They've nearly got the Earth Shatter. Swarm are going to have to be really careful how they engage here, but do you know what? If you've got all those ultimates online but you die before you can use them, that's as good as not having any ultimates in the first place.
Absolutely. Almost shades of 2017 Overwatch. We see a Nanoblade win a fight on its own. Great play by Nacho and Embromi, and we're seeing Wizard coming up to that Meteor Strike again. Rams making a couple swaps, moving over to the double hit scan. They really want to shut down Wizard on the Doomfist.
Yeah, and that's going to be a really, really unfortunate time for Wizard, especially King with those flashbangs and cannon fodder with the shield bashes. Everything there to shut down that Doomfist. But we still got Sir Reclaimer looking on this high ground. I think he's trying to just hide his presence slightly. Oh, but that's unfortunate. Wizard goes down early, but we've still got Sir Reclaimer looking for this power driver initiation. Are we going to see it now? His natural habitat. He drops the mines. He goes for the power driver. He manages to get quite a lot of damage in there. Foxworth falling down to the mines, and Bromi Speedwagon with the follow-up. Really excellent play there. For one initial investment of ultimate, can't really fault that as a play.
And I did like that swap from the Rams, actually opting for a triple CC setup. You mentioned the McCree and the Brigitte, but it was actually a late swap from Amazing onto that Roadhog. They really want to punish Wizard's mobility, and we're going to see him moving over to Tracer now. Still someone who can be punished by CC, but not quite as heavily as Doomfist.
But they've got to be quick, 97% on the point. There's looking like nobody round there from Rams to actually start the overtime counter, and that's it. Swapped, but too late.
Unfortunately, a little bit too slow on their pathing, can't quite reach the point on time, and that's going to be the first round going over to the Swarm. Wizard and an Archer looking just as good as we thought it'd be, but you've got to give credit to Sir Reclaimer. Great Wrecking Ball play, constant, huge value out of these pile drivers.
Yeah, and just really, really good presence of mind. It surprises me they weren't expecting Sir Reclaimer to pop down there, because it's not the first time he did that in this fight, and the first time he got really heavily punished for it, and the second time it seemed like they just had forgotten there was even a Wrecking Ball on the field.
Absolutely, and what that pile driver allowed, not only the huge damage and it allowed him to set up his nades, but it meant in Bruin he could land another one of those crucial biotic nades right underneath. If Rams want to find a way back into this match, they need to start by shutting down Embromi on that Ana. We talk about hard carry DPS, hard carry tanks, Embromi's a hard carry support right now, and that's not something we get to say very often.
No, yeah, take that. If you can get that, if you can somehow get a transcript of this chat printed out and framed, there you go. There's your hard carry support award of the day. One thing I did want to touch on briefly, we mentioned right at the start that there have been a bunch of changes to the way that armor and health and shields stack, and we had one team running the classic Goats composition.
Yeah.
How much of the failure of that Goats composition there was down to this change in the way that these things interact, and how much of it was down to just being outplayed by the enemy DPS?
I would help towards the latter. We didn't really see the rally popped very often by cannon fodder, which is the most crucial impact of that change, nerfing some of the sustain you get from the rally to me ability. I think I did like some of the adaptations we saw. I especially like the fact that they rolled out originally with the Moira. That tells me they were expecting the 2-2-2 compositions, because the Moira with the extra healing is so much stronger against the DPS, but unfortunately it just didn't work out in the end.
No. Well, still plenty of time for them to bring that around. It's a thing that I talk about a lot, is sometimes teams do just need that warm-up round. Yeah. So maybe having had that warm-up round, it's a nice, get the fingers flexed, get the King of the Hill out of the way. We're moving on to Rialto next, so a payload map as opposed to our 6v6 deathmatch style map that is King of the Hill. Given what we've seen from these teams so far, what do you think we can expect to see on the Rialto map?
Well, from Rams, I'm going to expect more free. But Rialto, it's a very strong free map. We even see a little bit of quad tank occasionally, right at the start, going for that long stall defense. So maybe Roadhog makes an appearance. One of my favourite heroes. I always love to see him show up. From Swarm, it's a little bit more interesting. On defense in particular, we do see 2-2 compositions coming out a lot, with teams pulling out the Farah, more modern the Ashe, able to set up on the high ground as well. We didn't see either of those heroes particularly from Swarm, but maybe that's something we see coming into this map, knowing they like to go for those 2-2 compositions.
Certainly going to be interesting to see whether or not these predictions come true. As it stands, it does look to me a little bit like Rams maybe have the upper hand here. From what we've seen so far. Still, everything to play for. We're going to be playing we're going to be playing up to map 4. So we'll very shortly be stopping our waffling and heading over to Rialto.
beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It's certainly one of my favourite maps. Maybe not to play. I certainly have enjoyed it more since they made that change where the payload moves a little bit faster. You spend a little less time stuck at the choke after you complete. But in terms of, architecture and sunshine and Omnic gondolas, speaking of which, Omnic gondolas, on the screen right away, it's certainly a very beautiful map.
You see, Rialto is beautiful. I love the architecture. I love the Omnic gondolas, as you alluded to. But my main problem as a Zen main is how prevalent Sombra can be on this map. Especially with the recent armor changes, Zen is so much more vulnerable to Sombra again, and we are seeing teams starting to bring Sombra out. Not something we've seen so far in the series. Maybe one of these teams will opt to bring out the Purple Lady. We'll have to see.
The Purple Lady. I don't think I've ever heard her referred to as that before, but I'm going to take a note. I'm going to refer to her as the Purple Lady from now on.
Speaking of Purple Ladies, Anatra coming out on that Widow again, potentially on attack.
Yeah, it's quite a good starting position for a Widowmaker. Lots of high ground, give you a lot of long sight lines onto the defensive setup. And it's, of course, if it doesn't work out, you're on offense. It's incredibly quick to swap out and go on something slightly more impactful. I do wonder if we're going to maybe see, we have the potential. Certainly this first point feels to me like quite a good Pharah map. Switch on to Pharah might be possible for Anatra here also.
Maybe, we'll have to see. Something that does intrigue me from this defense is one of the things Rams told us about was this Ryan Roadhog combo they like to go for. It's not the most conventional, but it's definitely comfort picks for most of these players. I'm not going to complain about seeing Roadhog again.
Anatra getting the better of Foxworth there in that sniper matchup. Anatra swapping right off again.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that Widow super strong. Ash is in a great spot, but she doesn't quite have the range to compete with the other purple players.
Yeah, and certainly if you look at the health pools coming in the back of that, it wasn't particularly one-sided actually. That could have gone either way. Of course, burst damage from Widowmaker so much more impactful than the burst damage from Ash. Still, Swarm coming in now. Psy Reclaimer on the Winston. Manchild takes him down already, but of course both main tanks out of the fight now. Anatra and Manchild. Psy Reclaimer, Manchild going down. That is a good situation, particularly if you're on offense here, because your main tank is going to get back into the fight, especially when your main tank is a Winston who can get in that bit quicker. But Amazing secures a pick onto Speedwagon here, so we are going to see Rams actually solidifying their hold here.
Yeah, Rams actually playing this corner really well. They've lost a huge shield from the Reinhardt, so they're just trying to back up, not giving any sightlines over to the Swarm, but King falls right at the last second.
Yeah, that's some Genji on Genji violence, and speaking of Genji violence, here comes the butter knife out again, not quite able to connect with anything. There we go, finally gets a kill onto Foxworth with the dash reset, taking out Emiko. Swarm take that with just 2 ultimates committed into the fight.
Emiko doing great to dodge and duke that blade right at the start, but Wizard finds them right at the end. You can't stay away from the Genji too long. Great work from the Anatra. Nice shots, and they're really staggering out these defenders now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You hate to see this from Rams coming in, just firing one person after another into the fight, coming in permanently without a full team into this fight, and again losing Amazing there. Anatra doing a lot of heavy lifting on the McCree pick, both with the flashbangs and the pick. Oh, Manchild goes for the Earth Shatter, but gets taken out in midair by Sir Reclaimer with the Fire Strike. Anatra in the back line. Oh, good sound barrier. Really good presence of mind from Sangdodi there, managing to mitigate any and all damage coming in from the Dragon Blade, and that's cannon fodder falling to Anatra. It's Anatra on an absolute tear here. I think I'm hardly seeing him miss any shots at all. Just look at the aggression coming in from Swarm. They are pushing right the way up to spawn for Rams. This has got to feel pretty bad if you're Rams.
It also feels pretty bad for one player on Storm who's just sat on the payload watching the rest of his team rack up kills. The fall of Anatra to King does mean that Swarm are going to have to back up now. They have to stop swarming down the opposing spawn. They've got to regroup, and that's great work. Great news for Rams as well, who can finally regroup themselves. Yeah,
but it's looking pretty good for both teams in terms of ultimates. It's going to be down to who can combo theirs better. There comes another Dragon Blade, takes out Foxworth, so that's... Bob does get committed to the fight just in time, I think. Certainly no longer left on the ult feed. So Reclaim managing to take out King is also pretty big. Speedwagon still has their... Graviton Surge, but health ball's looking a little bit rocky here for Swarm. Graviton Surge comes out, catches 2 from Rams, and we've got them pincered here in between Speedwagon in the back. But they're going to have to back off as Swarms look like they're finally going to stabilise.
Yeah, Rams had to invest everything into that fight though, unfortunately. They're going to make a couple of swaps with seeing Foxworth moving over to this Reaper, try and punish some of the aggression from Silver Claim and Speedwagon. And that's a huge stagger onto Anatra. Losing that hard carry McCree means that Swarm, they're going to have to just sit on the lowers with it, regroup, wait for Inatra to come back in with that Deadeye.
Yeah, it's going to feel pretty bad to be a high skill cap hero taken out by a random floating ball, but you know, sometimes it really do be like that. Wizard with a kill onto Cannon Fodder, and that's a big Earth Shatter. Takes out Cyreclaimer, but no, actually the Sound Barrier comes in over the top to save Cyreclaimer. Manchild and Amazing going down. Swarm looking to be in a very good position here. It's just Wizard chasing down this lone Moira, and Amiko falls, and we are going to see them finally cap point B. We're moving on to point C now, with Inatra still with this High Noon on board.
It was a nice hero play from Manchild. I could see what he was going for, but he'd already lost 2 picks. Nice work from King, taking out Wizard. The battle of Genji continues.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of Genji on Genji violence here today. It seems to be they maybe have their eye on each other constantly this whole time.
You've got to prove you're the alpha ninja.
Oh yeah, you've really got to go in, and Joe, who has the biggest shurikens, has forced Wizard to swap off. King pops the Dragon Blade, looking just to try and take, there we go, and successfully with a little help from Manchild, takes the Zarya out of the fight and is forcing Swarm to back off, but King in a really, really dangerous position there, got caught out somewhat, flashed, and then shot in the head by Inatra.
Sinatra, again, living up to his name. Named after the pro player Sinatra, by the way, showcasing similar levels of amazing aim.
That's he's going to want that clipped. If anybody is a friend of Inatra in the channel, he's going to definitely want a clip of the casters saying that maybe he is a little bit like Sinatra. I guarantee you.
Maybe.
High Noon right in the back there. The increased range. Oh, there we go. Inatra managing to take out Amiko. Revenge for that stray Moira Orb that took him down in the previous fight. Swarm currently very much up in the fight, taking out Manchild as well. They've got the Earth Shatter for Cyreclaim coming into this next fight. Oh, we're very close to Fox. Oh, we were very close to Fox with having the ult. They will have it in the next fight, and this could be make or break as to how well this Death Blossom gets used.
Absolutely. It's all going to be on this Death Blossom coming out. If you can get out on time, there's still the Coalescence alive to keep people a little bit topped up. So
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
and Swarm making really good use of this early aggression by getting... oh, it gets popped, it gets 2. Manchild there with a swing with the Fire Strike onto Inatra. Amiko following up with that Beam of Light Coalescence, but Wizard gets a quick 2, including 1 with the Dynamite, and unfortunately, Bob is sentenced to death by the big German with the hammer. Wizard taken out by Manchild, and Rams managed to solidify 1 again, but with only 2.5 meters left on the clock.
There's 2 minutes left on the time bank. It's not too bad, but with how strong a start Swarm had to this map, maybe you'd like something a little better than that moving into these final offense. We've got both tank ultimates coming online for Swarm now. They've got the Earth Shatter, they've got the Graviton, nothing really online for Rams, who have kind of moved up to store picks, especially with that Wrecking Ball coming out. We'll have to see if Server Claimer can land a huge shatter here.
Yeah, and of course, Inatra's ult was going to charge so quickly that it's pretty much guaranteed to come up in this next fight. Sangdoli takes the kill. The Battle Lucio on the field. Inatra taking out Cannon Fodder. It is a big Earth Shatter, gets 2, then 3. High Noon popped, finds Foxworth right in the middle of all that damage. Just has to take out the Wrecking Ball to start securing a bit of progress on this cart, and we're going to see that 72% of the way toward Wizard's final ultimate is almost definitely, in fact 100%, not going to be there in time.
Credit to Swarm, they knew their win conditions. The biggest obstacle to Server Claimer landing a shatter was going to be the opposing Reinhardt. Why not just solo grab him? Deal with him on his own, Sangdoli claiming the kill, and then it's wide open for Server Claimer to clean up, and minute 24 on the time bank, that's not too bad. Again, with how strong a start they had, maybe wanted something a bit better. It was good work by Rams to start consolidating that defense, especially on third point. But still, you can't argue with completing the map, especially on Rialto, where that's really not always a given.
Yeah, and minute 24 is really quite a good time bank for this, but I don't think it was particularly one-sided per se. There were moments there where Rams actually had a pretty good defense. Let's see if they can translate that into some actual offensive pressure. If they make the right set of picks out of the gate, I do think they can roll this part 1.
It depends on what comes out for the defense as well. We do occasionally see Quad Tank, again, the return of Roadhog. I'm going to keep talking about him, I love the guy. Doesn't look like what we're going to see from Swarm initially on this defense though, opting again for that 2-2 setup, Sangdali and Romi on the classic Lucio and Ana. Dive tanks with the Shimada brothers coming out as well. The Shimada dive. It's lovely to see.
Yeah, it takes me right the way back to before any of us had ever heard the word goats.
Yes, I'm glad that Hanzo and Genji, they've made up the difference. They're happy to fight together again today.
Yeah, especially if it means getting that W, then they're happy to work together.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're in this sort of tournament play. If you're in the ladder, you can convince yourself that, oh well, we may have lost, but at least we lost with style. You definitely want the W in this sort of tournament format that we have at the Arena Clash.
Speaking of style, King is someone who, despite a poor Rams being the losing team, King in particular has looked really good. Coming out in this Widow, maybe we'll see a couple flashy headshots coming out of spawn.
Yeah, and Archer's got to be very careful because he's very exposed over here, and King definitely has the advantage in terms of just being able to flick headshots. King, though, very strangely, was just in spawn, that brief little bit of time that we saw there. Maybe they're just looking to try and hide the Widow presence and get in with a bit of a surprise pick at the end, but Inatra taking out Amazing is not a very good position for Rams.
You need to push Inatra out to this high ground. The Hanzo is just going to abuse the ledge up there. He gets great sight lines right into your backline, and it's good cleanup from Wizard as well. Inatra and Wizard already halfway to their ultimates. Foxworth, credit to him, he's got 42% on that Riptire, but that's a pretty fast charging ultimate anyway.
Yeah, King has swapped back over onto the Genji, so at least there is now somebody to challenge Inatra on the high ground, but of course there is so much dive potential for Swarm that just sending one person up there on their own is not going to be enough to flush him out. And look at this Wizard sneaky in the back, just looking to get a bit of early charge, just trying to solo kill this Genji. Sorry, this I do know the names of the characters, I promise. Junkrat, thank you very much. I'm an old man, you can't expect too much from me. Foxworth finally going down to Wizard, so it did pay off a little bit there. And Natra has not been dislodged from this ledge. Oh, come on, as I say it, he finally gets dislodged with the anti-nade from Anna, but still, having spent so long alive, they do have their ultimate online ready to go.
Absolutely. Nothing really to come away with. They're not running the death ball, so you don't have to grab a ton.
Ooh, that was a hell of a dink.
That's the third time in this 1.5 minute defense that Natra has landed a headshot onto Amazing. Yeah. Not having a fun time on the Anna pick right now.
No, you need to start spending a little bit more time behind that big meaty Ryan shield. Here comes Wizard with the Dragon Blade. He's spotted them coming in on the flank. Manages to take out Emiko, gets the kill onto Cannon Fodder, and there's just one tank left there. Amazing gonna go again. It's really unfortunate. It's not spent a huge amount of time alive out of spawn. 10-player kill streak for Wizard there, and 28% of the way back to an ultimate having just used it is really, really impressive play.
It was great work with that Dragon Blade, but you've got to give credit to the main tank as well, so the Flamer getting in the back line, meaning that the Rams couldn't invest their full attention in.
Look at that, he saw the rotation coming in, popped the Dragon. Dragon not actually able to connect with anything, which is unfortunate because it was a great brained bit of play there.
You know, sometimes it's just about sending a message. It doesn't matter if you didn't get any kills with a Dragon Strike. You're sending a message. They've got to watch out.
Yeah, they now know that maybe they ought to send someone up to deal with Inatra. Cyroclaimer does have the Primal Rage online, might not even need to pick it here as they chase Rams right the way back into Swarm. Into Swarm? Into Spawn. One of those.
Swarming you back into Spawn.
Thank you very much.
Rams can't ram their way out. We're seeing an interesting change here. Amazing, the old... Originally, the Diva went over to the Anna to start the series, now on the Junkrat, and Foxworth, the Flex DPS on the Zenyatta, so maybe Amazing not too comfortable on that Zen, they opt to put the Flex DPS on it instead, and it pays off to get a nice kill onto Serverclaim to
yeah,
start
that's a nice opener, but it's ooh, Wizard falls to the trap. That's going to feel pretty bad being outplayed by an inanimate object, but despite having only made those changes a few seconds ago, Rams already starting to look pretty strong here, taking out Inatra and Bromi in really, really quick time. So it's by no means as strong an offense as we saw from Swarm, but it's looking like it may finally start to pay off.
That said, Swarm are still going to have time for one more fight coming in at the end of this first point, and they've got 5 ultimates online. Inatra isn't too far away from his Dragon Strike either. It's looking really solid. Rams, you need to make something work here. Can Foxworth farm up that Transcendence before the Dragon Blade comes through? It's a nice pick onto Amazing to start things off from Membroni.
Yeah, 84% of the way to a Bob from King. Having that 7th teammate in the fight is going to be pretty useful. The Wizard pops the Dragon Blade, and we also get the... Oh, here we go, Bob in the fight, but not before Wizard gets a quick 2 and a 3, taking out Manchild as well. Inatra with the follow-up, taking out Cannon Fodder with 8 seconds left on the clock, and just Bob left anywhere near the cart. This is going to be all over for Rams, I fear.
They think it's all over? It is now.
It is now. There we go. It wouldn't be British casting if we didn't make a reference to the World Cup at some point, wouldn't it?
Let's not dwell on the World Cup too long.
Let's not indeed. So yeah, that's a really quite unfortunate situation to be in if you are Rams, because they got full held on Reality 1 there.
Yeah, Rams still looking a bit weak. They do have that synergy coming together from their time in Challengers with the star player on King, but they just can't make it work. There's really good work from Inatra in particular on this map. Being able to expose their weaknesses, popping off on the McCree mainly, the Hunter on the defense as well, looking pretty good, and they just can't find an answer.
Yeah, it seems to me like they are not quite thinking about challenging people specifically on the high ground, because Inatra just lived on that ledge on point 1, and dislodging him would have been as simple as swapping to dive tanks and doing something about it.
Yeah, it came down to the composition they were running. Opting with that death ball, you lacked the vertical mobility to challenge someone like the Hanzo on the high ground. The only real thing you can do is maybe send your Lucio up there to try and boop him off. They ended up sending the biotic nade up there, which sure flushed him out. He just went back, waited for it to wear off, healed up, and went back in again.
Yeah, it needs to be slightly more potent than that. Really, if you're going to try and flush somebody off the high ground, you need to do it by killing them, not by anti-nading them. Yes, it bought you a little bit of space, and we did see a little bit of progress made on the back of that, but it wasn't quite enough to actually secure more than a few meters progress.
Hey, sometimes biotic nades are kills. Just ask him, Bernie.
Yeah, fair enough. And speaking of Ana plays, how unfortunate for Amazing in that round, getting just repeatedly picked off by one or the other of the Shimada brothers. It's going to be incredibly frustrating to be in that position.
I do have to give credit to Amazing, actually. He's been one of the standout players for me so far on Rams, just because of his flexibility. He looked really solid on the Diva originally. He came out on the Ana to start that map, then moving over to the Junkrat, being able to play just about any role from Rams. Man's got no shame. He'll play whatever the team needs, and that's the kind of team player you need in the scenarios. Even though it isn't working out, that flexibility is putting Rams in a better position.
Yeah, absolutely. It means that they have a bigger pool of answers to pick from. They're maybe not always the correct answers, they're maybe not always the answers that work out, but it means that they've got things in their pocket they can throw at the problem and just see what works.
Absolutely. If you give a million monkeys a million typewriters, one of them write Shakespeare. If you run a million comps out of Spawn, one of them will win the map.
There we go. This is the Coach Vowels approach to winning at Overwatch, is monkeys and typewriters.
Yes.
Well, you know, frankly, whatever works. But having done our King of the Hill map, having done our payload map, we're now going to be moving over to everybody's favourite map type, Vowels. It's 2CP. We're going to be going over to Anubis, right into the middle of Egypt, looking to see whether anybody ever can cap that second point.
Hey, 2CP ain't that bad.
I mean, should I just go now? Because I disagree completely.
Anubis in particular, I do quite like. We see an interesting variety of compositions coming out on first point defense. Some teams opt for the high horse, as we call it. You set the Orisa up on the high ground to protect the Widow and the Junkrat, and you can control so many sightlines with that, at the cost of giving up a lot of space to the offense. Some teams instead opt to run a dive defense, where you maybe don't have as many sightlines control, but you get the space control instead. It's an interesting trade-off these teams seems to go for on defense. It'll be interesting to see what the Swarm comes out with. You have to give credit to both of these teams. They do like to run unconventional stuff, and it's been pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's certainly better than... we've certainly seen a lot of, let's call it goats v goats, in the past few weeks, and we have seen our teams running variants on goats. You can certainly see, looking at Swarm, we talked about them possibly using this variant of goats that has the Mei in it, so possibly we're going to see that here. Interesting that we see it being run without the Lucio, though.
Yeah, that does concern me a little bit. Maybe you're going for a little bit more healing with the Moira. Maybe at a stretch she has a little bit of anti-air capabilities with the long beam, but lacking the Lucio is almost a death sentence sometimes for these tank-heavy compositions. Lacking that speed boost means you don't have the mobility you otherwise lose by not running the dive tanks, as he was suggesting earlier. It can be so easy for opposing tank compositions to just speed onto you and take the fight.
Speaking of which, Foxworth on the Lucio here, looks like that is exactly what we're going to see here. So we're going to be seeing, well, it's actually an interesting composition. We've got triple support, double tank, and King over on the Widowmaker, but look at that, a nice early wall stops Rams from taking that side passage, but probably would have liked to have swapped and actually split off a couple of people there. We're not seeing that, but King looking uncontested on this high ground, takes out Umbromi. Cyric Claimer with the equalizer. Ooh, taking out Foxworth as well, so we may have an uncontested Widowmaker who is getting picks, but it's not going all the way for Rams at the minute.
Yeah, King is finally showing up as the player we expected him to be. We say that right as he falls to Wizard on the Mei, unfortunately.
Cast a curse.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. He's looking really good though, and that's the strength of running the Widow alongside his tank compositions. You can force the defense to pay attention to sightlines first. It's going to move over to Zaya though, so you talked about not seeing the 3-3 matchup. What have we got now, Phil?
What we've got is me caster cursing my own cast, but Sir Reclaimer looking pretty strong here, has the Earth Shatter online, and we've got the Blizzard. The Blizzard actually comes out, gets a couple of people in there, allows Umbromi to get a kill. Sir Reclaimer swings in with the Fire Strike and the Earth Shatter, takes down the entire team, 5-player kill streak. Rams going right the way back to spawn. It is just Foxworth, and not even Foxworth anymore, left alive for Rams.
I do question the use of the Coalescence there from Amiko, maybe looking for a little bit more of the sustain through the Blizzard, but you had already lost a couple of players. That said, using the Coalescence forced Sir Reclaimer to invest his Earth Shadow himself, so maybe that trade is worth it. Sneaky defense though.
Yeah. Ooh, I do like this, getting in right in behind them. If they can even just get one pick from this, and there we go, that's exactly what you want. Manchild, main tank down. Sangdoli popping their own Coalescence, managing to secure a kill. Amazing falling down straight after. Swarms looking really, really strong here.
We have seen another swap, Amazing moving over to the Roadhog, and as much as I love seeing the Roadhog, I'm not sure if I like the decision here. Sure, maybe you want the extra pick potential, but lacking that defense matrix is going to open it up for Embromi and Wizard with his right clicks, and Speedwagon also with the right clicks, to get so much more damage and that you can't negate.
Yeah, and one of the things we've seen, actually, Swarm are very good at making sure that Manchild is the first out of the fight. So if they can secure that again, they've got an uncontested Earth Shatter, doesn't need to take it. King going down to the charge from Sir Reclaimer. Wizard with a follow-up onto Foxworth, pops the Blizzard as well. Everybody trapped in that, and we saw, unfortunately, the rally committed to that fight as well. It's not going to be enough cannon fodder, dying as they pop that ult. No value from rally at all.
Okay, so Rams, it's not looking great. That said, you've got two ultimates in advantage now. You've got the Sound Barrier and the Earth Shadow online. Remember, me invested in the Transcendence in that fight. There's only the Gravitons online for Swarm. This is your window. Amazing, unfortunately, misses the hook, but that's okay. It's forcing Swarm back.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. Manchild comes in with a really aggressive shatter, immediately blocked by Sir Reclaimer's shield. Sir Reclaimer with really good reflexes onto that. Maybe we'll start seeing a couple of kills here as the Graviton Surge comes out. 2 from King, taking out tank and off tank from Swarm. Maybe we're going to start seeing some capture progress, and there we go. We've actually had first point cap. It's just Embromi left there. Embromi, and we've got Sangdoli committing the Coalescence to the fight. Is that going to be enough? They are in on trying to contest, but it's not going to be enough as Rams finally cap point A. 4 minutes 37 left on the clock, and a parting wall from Wizard just to slow that roll coming out of point A.
And that's why you needed Sangdoli on the Lucio, not the Moira. As nice as that extra healing is, as nice as the Coalescence is, they aren't going to save you from being sped into like that.
No.
There was just no escape from Swarms as soon as Rams ran in with those tanks.
But what I do like here, patience from Rams. They're waiting for the regroup. They know that they can't just rush point. They've got to come in as a unit, but Swarm have 4 ultimates online. They've nearly got 5th. There we go, 5 as I say it. There's Embromi's. It's going to be so hard for Rams to break this hold here because there's so much for Swarm to play with. Blizzard comes out. I didn't actually see it land yet. Earth Shatter coming in as well. So Reclaimer with a quick 2 from the Earth Strike. Graviton to follow up, charging right onto the enemy Reinhardt. Manchild falling down. Just a couple of healers left on the point. Swarm did throw a lot at that fight, but you can't argue it was successful.
Yeah, they do have the Transcendence, so about to come up on the Coalescence as well. We know how fast that charges. And it's a nice stagger onto Amazing. Starts getting Sir Reclaimer up 50% to that next Earth Shadow.
Yeah,
speaking of fast charging Earth Shadow, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's
Manchild,
fine.
he's already got another. He had 80% on his Earth Shadow going into that fight after using it at the start of the previous one, so getting a lot of value on that Reinhardt as well.
Yeah, but that being said, Sir Reclaimer did use theirs in that fight also, already at 60%, so maybe Sir Reclaimer getting the upper hand in this Rhine v Rhine fight. Wizard with a swap. Wizard coming out with the Torbjorn. You've seen it used in professional play. That means it is valid. Now, Amazing with a swap onto Pharaoh. That's unfortunate when Wizard has just swapped onto the auto-turreting demon that is Torbjorn. Cannon fodder pops their Coalesce, their rally even. Manchild looking to get in over the top. It's unfortunate. That's the second one of those committed right into the shield of Sir Reclaimer, and Graviton coming into the fight as well. King, but unfortunately Embromi there with the Transcendence. Swarm take another fight.
I do question pulling out this Pharaoh without a Mercy pocket. It leaves Amazing so vulnerable. Has to be really careful about what silence he goes for. That said, looking pretty good for the Rams now. They forced the double support ult to come out from Swarm.
Yeah, and Amazing already 80% nearly to the way on that barrage. It's going to be very difficult to use it, especially in the face of this Torbjorn. And not only have they got the value from this turret here, but we've seen actually Wizard is an incredibly good projectile DPS player. They've got such a good grasp on just how these projectiles move and how to get the most out of them.
Absolutely. We've talked about King maybe being a star player for Rams coming into this fight, but what's better than 1-star DPS player? 2, and that's exactly what we're seeing from Wizard and Anatra so far.
It is, but it's going to be interesting to see what Rams think they can do to actually break this hold here, because I don't think a single barrage on its own is going to be enough. It's going to take... Oh, it's unfortunate. I was just about to talk about the fact that we need King to charge this ult nice and quickly to buy a little bit of space control, but they're not going to do that when they're out of the fight, and Swarm take that with just the rally invested into the fight, and there's the Molten Core. Doesn't look like there's anybody around to actually get caught by it, but we've got a hammer kill. Wizard gets the hammer kill onto Emiko. There we go. That is how you know you are watching good Overwatch, when you see a Torb hammer kill.
Again, it's about sending a message. You don't hit anyone with the molten core, but you sent a message. You hammer, not the most effective weapon, but you sent a message. It's starting to play the mental game against Rams now. They've got to pay more respect to this Torbjorn pick.
Yeah, I mean, really, getting a kill with a Torbjorn hammer is really a lot like doing a tactical crouch on your opponent. It has no value other than trying to tilt your opponent. We have got amazing swapping over to the Junkrat. We've got a minute left on the clock. Junkrat Tyre is a very quick charging ultimate. If you can get any value out of this pick, this could be key in opening up the fight.
Especially with the Mercy damage boost coming out from Emiko. He's already 27%. He needs to be able to burst down the shield, but it's nice from King to dive into the backline.
Yeah, King coming in on the Wrecking Ball, and slapped in the middle of an Earth Shatter. That's gotta feel so rough. And Wizard and Sir Reclaimer making their presence felt on the left-hand side of that kill feed as it goes all the way in favour of Swarm with 40 seconds left on the clock. Rams have time for one more fight if they are clever and if they are quick about it.
One more fight, and again, we saw Swarm double investing their support ultimate, so that opens the window wide open for the Rams. This is probably the biggest weakness I've seen in the Swarm's play. As dominant as they've looked, they've got to stop stacking their support ultimates, investing in the Coalescence and the Transcendence in the same fight. It opens up this window now for Rams.
Ooh, right from downtown, Kobe style, right into the majority of the Rams. That's going to hold them off with 8 seconds left on the point. I did see there we go. We actually did get the Reaper onto point. He went for the cheeky flank using the speed coming in from that Wraith form, but it's not going to be enough. The turret, the Molten Core right by Spawn is definitely going to stop them coming out and recontesting. Wizard here with some serious BM play.
Amazing did get his revenge right at the end with the solo Riptide. Knew he couldn't get to point, but he wanted to punish Wizard for going for that spawn camp. It's very unfortunate there for Swarm. Rams, but that's the weakness of running without the Diva in those compositions. There is no risk in just throwing the Graviton downtown, hoping for the best. Yeah, and if you catch 4 people, you win the fight.
Yeah, you can go for the 3-point fadeaway shot, and there is nobody there to bat that out of the air. But still, we did see them capture point A. Unfortunately, no capture progress on point B. If they pull out a really big defense here, they can maybe get this map win, but it has to be an absolutely pitch-perfect defense.
Yeah. You do have some kind of hope. If you can do a full hold on the first point, you can win this map. But even a draw, if they give up the first point and manage to hold second, that would still give the series over to Swarm, having that 2-0 lead with only 1 map left to play.
Yeah, so we've got to see something pretty big from Rams, and we've got King potentially with an early Torbjorn pick. We saw it work out quite well for Swarm. Let's not get too invested in it yet, as it's not yet out of spawn. But I actually don't think that's terrible here, really.
If you can't beat him, join him, I suppose. Paired up with Foxworth on that Widowmaker, able to put in a lot of burst damage from the back, control those sightlines. We're actually going to see amazing rolling out of spawn on that Rissa now, so that suggests that they are definitely rolling with this Torbjorn. They want to go for maybe the treehouse setup, the bunker setup, whatever you like to call it. Place that Torbjorn turret behind the Orisa shield, gives you the flexibility for the Orisa to just run off and do her own thing while the shield is there. But it's do or die time.
I like the concept of the Orisa being able to run off or do her own thing. She's not a character you traditionally think of as a flanker, but boy would that send Swarm for over to deal with a flanking Orisa. Nice early fire strike there, does get a little bit of damage in. Nice early ult charge, 18% of the way already. Sir Reclaimer just casually taking out King's turret. Foxworth getting the better of Inatra. That does mean we are in a 5v6. Speedwagon taking out Foxworth for the equalizer there. This could be a really, really quick cap here. Swarm takes out the opposite number of cannon fodder, and we're seeing the drop down onto point. That Torb coming in with the Fortify, getting in on top of that armor. That burst damage pretty hard to do anything against, but no, actually Speedwagon looking like they're going to be back the way out of this fight. It is just amazing left on the point, and this was not the strong defense we were looking for from Rams.
It started off great, they got a couple picks, but unfortunately they fell to his... Oh, and that's lovely from Inatra. Living up to that great aim we've seen from the Mill series, getting the nice tag onto cannon fodder. Foxworth falls too, and this first is wide open. 7 minutes, only need to get a tick. 2 people running out of spawn. It's looking dire for the Rams.
Yeah, it's not in a good situation for anybody. We need to see some really, really quick ult charge and a really impactful. In fact, there we go, 98% of the way. Manchild does have the Earth Shatter, but it needs to be absolutely massive. It's not going to be massive because Manchild goes down. King secures the kill onto Sangdoli, but Inatra and Sir Reclaimer and Wizard cleaning up in that kill feed. It is nobody left alive from Rams. 5-player kill streak coming in for Sir Reclaimer, 33% of the point capped, and that's Anubis over and done with.
You know, I've got to say, I cast a lot of Overwatch, I coach a lot of Overwatch, I write about the Overwatch League, so I watch a lot of Overwatch. This might be the first map I've ever seen with mirror Torbjorns as a legitimate strategy. And I'm here for it. I want to see it stay.
Yeah, I mean, the word legitimate is thrown around a lot these days, but, you know, it's working out for one team, maybe not quite so much for the other. But yeah, in case you guys didn't know, we do have a contenders level coach on the casting desk today.
Don't tell anyone.
I've been told not to tell anyone, but it's too late. I've already told however many people are currently watching us. So yes, that is, unfortunately, we are at 3-0 for Rams versus Swarm. So it's unfortunate. It's not managed to be particularly back and forth, but still quite an enjoyable map, I think. Or enjoyable match generally so far, I think.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of different compositions coming up from both these teams. It's not just like a boring mirror matchup. Both teams being a little bit creative, seeing what works. I've got to give credit to the Rams. It's not been as successful as I would have liked, as they would have liked, but it's looking good. They are coming up with stuff that maybe briefly is still throwing the Swarm for a loop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly inventive. It's certainly it's a playful style of Overwatch.
Yes.
It's not the deathly seriousness that is we're just going to run 3-3.
Hey, well, make Overwatch fun again. That's what we should be here for.
I'm here for that red hat. Give me one of those red hats.
Not that 3-3 isn't fun. There is definitely situations where 3-3 can be really fun. I do enjoy seeing good quality 3-3, but sometimes you need a change. You need these 2-2 compositions. You need the mirror Torbjorns.
Yeah, so this is the thing that I've noticed. So as someone who casts and coaches, I can look at good 3-3 play and go, oh man, you know, just the intricacies, the way all those gears mesh together. But if you're somebody that likes to play Pharah on the ladder, you're just going, oh god, 3-3 again, just let me play a DPS hero. And we're seeing that, so this is exactly where you need to be if you want to watch some DPS Overwatch.
To the team's credit, when we have seen those 3-3 coming out, it's still looking pretty good. It's not like this is bad 3-3, but having that variety to run other compositions as well, you're not really sure what teams are going to be running. It takes you a moment to adjust and maybe counter-comp it, and that's how Overwatch should be, and that's really exciting to watch for these teams.
Yeah, certainly you kind of hear rock, paper, scissors thrown around as a derisory term, particularly because it applies so well to this 3-3 composition where, you know, Zen goats, Moira goats, Anna goats.
What do you call rock, paper, scissors when it works like 7 or 8 ways like we're seeing in this match?
I think that's rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. I forget what the other two are, but there's like a 30 variant version of rock, paper, scissors, which is just call it Overwatch. It's Overwatch.
Overwatch. Only 29 heroes. It's not
it's
not the 30 way yet.
But close. Close. We should be getting a new hero in the next few weeks.
No, yeah.
So
we're going to be heading into our final match now. It's good. Well, a final map, not
final
a final
match. No, we've got one more match today. Yeah. Give us a little while yet, guys. But we are, of course, moving over to King's Row. And boy, if there is one thing that King's Row is known for, it's that Ryan Zarya style of play.
Absolutely. When we first saw Goats going to prominence, King's Row was its home. Ryan Zarya, even in the Pika type meta, was really strong through the streets of King's Row, and we often saw teams running nothing but the 3-3 compositions, mirror against each other, all the way through this map. That said, recent events with the rise of Wrecking Ball, with Ashe coming into the meta as well, things have started spicing up a little bit, especially on First Point, where we're seeing teams roll out with these triple, quad DPS offenses. You send a Wrecking Ball out to cause chaos, you control so many sidelines. We saw a little bit of Wrecking Ball on Busan earlier, so maybe we'll see that coming out today, especially from Sir Reclaimer, who looked really good. We'll have to see. I don't think this is going to be a 3-3 mirror. Again, we're going to see these teams being a little bit creative, coming up with something new.
It's good. I always like casting Overwatch that looks a lot more like my ladder games, which is, I'm going to play this character and you can't stop me.
I try not to think about my ladder games.
I think that's what happens, maybe slightly differently. I think a lot of people in my ladder games try not to think, which is a different situation altogether.
To be fair, both these teams looking much better than my ladder games. You've got to give them credit.
You absolutely do. And we have some DPS picks, both on attack and defense. We've got Widowmaker Tracer. Nice early pick there, or nice early shot from an archer, getting a burst of 24 ult charge on the back of one shot is pretty good. Meanwhile, the rest of the team progressing on to point, and Archer's going to have to relocate to continue doing any sort of work in this fight. Swarm and Ram sort of just going back and forth, and no one able really to get... Oh, no, do you know what? I say it. Wizard takes out Amiko. That is 2 down in the fight. Wizard on an absolute tear. Wizard and Archer, this DPS duo, absolutely lighting up the kill feed. That's unfortunate. We've just got Amazing left on the point. Amiko back and up, but not able to come in for the recontest.
It's a little bit unfortunate for an Archer that as soon as he starts spectating him, he starts whiffing his shots. But it was 2 crucial picks to open up that map, combined with Wizard finding 2 of his own. The defense didn't really stand a chance, and you have to pay so much respect to this DPS duo. Inatra and Wizard enabled really well by some great tank performances, and particularly Umbroni on that Ana. Again, I didn't see an nade during that first fight, I may be mistaken, but he's won so many fights just off the back of that ability. You've got to pay your dues.
Yeah, completely. Interesting though that we do have ultimates online. Very disparate looking ultimate situation in that we've got Manchild with their Earth Shatter. So Reclaimer has in fact just got it and just committed it to the fight. Does catch 1 in it, and the follow-up we've seen yet another Earth Shatter come right into the shield of Manchild. Nano Boost coming out. We're going to see a big angry Jumpman swinging that hammer, taking down one, taking down another. Not able to get a kill onto the back of that, but certainly able to buy a lot of space, sending Swarm right the way back, and we do have Amazing's Graviton. We're starting to see those tank ults cycle into this fight.
He did buy some space, but now Wizard finding 2 picks on top of the 2 picks they already lost, while we saw Manchild moving forward. It's a nice grab, but it's just there to buy time. Amazing gets shut down by Wizard, who he's just spawn camming these fools. He's styling on him.
Yeah, that's really... We've just got poor Manchild being chased right the way back into the rest of his team. So much aggression coming in from Swarm. They're able to just get right in. Wizard finally taken down by King. King with the dash kill, but it's not going to be enough because you cannot reflect a 600-pound German.
As great as Merlin was, he was still subservient to Arthur. The King beats the Wizard. Did invest in the Dragon Blade. See if quickly he can build up another one. You've got to see Foxwolf now on his McQueen going up. He's got to use his flashbang to shut down Wizard in this backline. That's going to be their best hope. But Cannon Fodder falls again.
Yeah, and Manchild going down shortly after as well means that there's really not an awful lot there for Rams to play with, especially for Wizard and Speedwagon able to just get in and completely knock Rams over.
And now 5 minutes, moving into the 3rd point to King's Row. This has just been an utter rout by the Swarm. Constantly moving forward, punishing any aggressive positioning by the Rams, chasing them right back into spawn. Wizard gets a kill in the middle of the pack of fight.
In spawn, but they've made a few changes now. We've got Manchild coming in, Amazing coming in on Winston, falling very, very low. Needs to be a little bit more careful, but I like the swaps here. I like the idea of getting in and taking out some of the value from the supports in the back line, but it needs to be a really, really quick defensive push here if they're going to do anything. Wizard commits the pulse bomb into the fight, but not really getting anything out of it. Inatra coming in with a Dragon Blade, gets 1, but Speedwagon takes the wind out of his sails, of course, by stealing the kills. Does manage to get a 2nd one, taking out his opposite number in King. We've got the Earth Shatter for Rams, but whether they can get that into this fight remains to be seen. Nothing left online for Swarm. We've nearly got the not even worth talking about, because Swarm cap 0.3 in pretty quick time.
And Rams just couldn't find any breathing room. They had a brief respite right at the start of 2nd point where they invested the Earth Shatter and their Nano Boost, chased them back into spawn, but even then, they were only trading picks. It was a huge spawn advantage for the Swarm, and they just came rushing out and punished the Rams again.
Yeah,
I don't want to keep talking about this DPS duo from Swarm. And Archer and Wizard are doing dirty things. You've got to give credit to Speedwagon and Server Claimer doing a great job on these tanks, popping off themselves, and even then, being reliable. Keeping Manchild and Amazing in check means that Rams can't buy any space, and that gives Wizard and Archer so much room to breathe, especially on the Genji and the Tracer.
I think what we've hit on here is one of the reasons why DPS players dislike the 3-3 composition so much, and the tanks and support players love it so much, because when we do have these DPS players that are just popping off and dominating the kill feed, we talk about them, and we don't talk about the supports, we don't talk about the tanks. But yeah, the fact remains that Umbromi, Sir Reclaimer, Speedwagon, Sangdoli all doing really, really good work to enable their DPS lineup to actually get some things done. We are going to see Inatra replace Sombra, and we've certainly seen Sombra and some pro levels of play be incredibly impactful on this map. So this could be a very, very strong pick for Swarm.
Especially around this 1st point where there's so much high ground, so many corners you can abuse, set up on on those health packs as well. Just cycle through those EMPs. It's effectively a one fight every other fight if you can keep building the ultimate up.
Yeah, and we've certainly seen that Sir Reclaimer, Speedwagon, Wizard, all very good at generating their ults just as quickly. So, you know, you might only have EMP every other fight, but you're almost certainly going to have another DPS or another tank ult in the intervening fights.
Absolutely. Swarm setting up on his defense in Natra. He's just going to scout what's coming out from the opposition, see if he goes for a little bit of poke damage. Actually gets to hack onto Manchild.
Yeah, hack onto Manchild is big, but he does get slept, unfortunately. Not able to capitalise on that sleep, but really, really good presence of mind from Cannon Fodder. Manchild does fall on the back of that hack, the Sir Reclaimer, but King managing to get the equaliser with an Natra out of the fight. This is actually looking pretty good for Rams. What a deflag, taking Foxworth right out of the fight. Dragon Blade already, that's incredibly quick. Takes out both supports, one with the blade, one with the dash. Just going to get the hamster in the ball, and that is going to be all she wrote for this push from Rams.
I've got to give credit to King at the start of that, knowing exactly where the Sombra would be setting up, camping the translocator and getting the kill, but unfortunately it wasn't quite enough to turn the fight around for the rest of Rams, who lose their first fight on offense. They are coming up on the colors and Nano Boost. They've got a couple tools to work with, but compared to this defense, it's not looking great.
No, it's not. We have an Nitro swap off the Sombra now, playing in the McCree. Speedwagon with an early kill onto Manchild, and of course losing the main tank is pretty much a death sentence. I imagine that is going to be all we see from this defensive push, especially if you're going to lose your main hero on the back of that. Sir Reclaimer doing some really, really excellent work here.
Absolutely, already built up that Earth Shadow. He's looked really good with landing these Earth Shadows and denying them away from Manchild. We'll see if that stays true here again.
Yeah, you're going to be looking for the acute shatter here, just round the corner. Just needs to make sure he gets in behind Manchild's shield. We have, as you were saying, certainly seen him get the better of that exchange, usually blocking Manchild's Earth Shadows and not having his Earth Shadows blocked in return. Lots of stuff starting to come online for Swarm here. We're just missing the High Noon. We're 70% of the way there, and that's going to be, wow, all 6 ultimates online for Swarm. Dragon coming out does manage to help split the team slightly, but not able to get any kills on the back of it. In fact, Speedwagon taken out amazing. So Reclaimer on his opposite number. Foxworth finally starting to take Speedwagon out of the fight, but he's still got so many ults online for Swarm, and Rams have committed 2 into that fight and not actually able to got anything out of it.
All Swarm needed to use in that fight was Sangdoli's rally, just to sustain through that offense. It was great work from Speedwagon, knowing that he had an opportunity. They hadn't paid really any attention to him on the side there. Managed just to find a pick, force away the Hanzo as well, and now we're going to see a change. Foxworth moving over to this National. See if he can come at the bubble on time. That Dynamite's so strong.
Oh, Shatter comes out, doesn't actually secure anything, but Wizard in the back, taking out Foxworth and Cannon Fodder both, coming in with the dash reset, finds Emiko as well, but King on a real tear. King and Manchild taking out 3 between them. Wizard takes out King, but Manchild, this looks like we may finally see them capture point A.
It's an Archer versus the world. Up against 2 main tanks, he's got to pay him respect. He's getting chased down by the monkey.
Taken out amazing.
Only 5 HP as well. Gets the Nano Boost going in. He's going after Manchild.
Yeah, it's just going to break that shield. Just dodging the pulse bomb. Not able to find anything with the flashbang, but King takes him out in the middle of that ult. That was such a big play from Natra. Manchild with a big shatter, but it's not going to be enough. Oh, maybe it is King doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but Manchild slept in this fight. There is so much CC, so much stuff here to absolutely ruin a Reinhardt's day, and Rams are finally going to start to make enough progress on this point. We're looking like we may finally see a capture. It's just the Wrecking Ball left contesting, and there we go. That's got to be Rams' cap here.
Absolutely. And they've still got a couple ultimates coming online now. They're going to have to pulse bomb from King. They did just invest the primal just to clear the point, but they're not a million miles away from the Bob, from the Coalescence, and the Nano Boost is getting pretty close as well, and there's not as much on the side of Swarm. So
no, and Wizard there with a really early pick onto King. And Natra looked like they just maybe instigated a little bit too early there.
Yeah. Pick straight back and forth. King with the slight respawn advantage is going to get there quicker, especially on the Tracer. You see Foxworth just setting up for a play on the Ash.
Oh, Foxworth abandons all of the ult charge. We're not going to see Foxworth. Oh, they're going over to the pirate ship. Of course, that makes a lot of sense. Trying to put Amazing up on top here and just ramrod this composition right the way through. Foxworth is going to be a key part of that. Manchild, 97% of the way to the ultimate, receives the nano boost, getting in. Oh no! Booped right in the middle of his Earth Shadow. It looked like it was going to go into Sir Reclaimer's shield anyway, but that's an unfortunate investment of ult. Manchild goes with dive, finds nothing except the cold hard wall of King's Row and falls down. We lose Amazing as well. Fox was able to take out the turret, but it's not going to be enough. Inatra swapping heroes once again, is now playing the Soldier rather than the Doomfist.
Soldier, not a hero we see too much, but having that mobility and the self-sustain from his heal pack can be really good in this meta.
Yeah, and already 65% of the way to his ultimate.
Yeah. It was unfortunate for the Rams that they made that swap onto the pirate ship a little bit too late. The card had already started moving and they couldn't set it properly. When Amazing had to sit down on low ground, and it was just easy prey for Inatra. Already 70% on the ultimate, like you said, and well, earlier on we saw Mirror Torbjorns, now it's Mirror Bastions.
Yeah, this is really not a thing you see that much of, especially, I mean, I understand running the attack Bastion if you can actually get lodged on the payload, but trying to reposition, and in fact they've realised that they cannot get that Bastion onto the payload. They've swapped over, Amazing picking up the Roadhog, so they're going to be running this Roadhog Rhine composition that we were expecting to see from them.
This is one of the compositions they've looked a little stronger on, managed to break the spawn camp on the also using this Rhine Roadhog combo.
Solo Shatter! That's got to feel bad if you're Foxworth, but two from Speedwagon and Inatra. Manchild takes out Sangdeli. We've got the Nano, we've got the attack visor online, finds one, takes out Manchild, takes out Emiko on the Moira, and that's going to be all she wrote for that team point, I think. Do have the Bastion still alive for Wizard here. Wizard just picking whatever he feels like.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
And
can't argue with success.
It's a late stagger onto Amazing there, means there's probably going to be time for one more fight now coming out from the Rams. They've got the coalescence to work with.
It's an early grab. We're going to see them 3-point from downtown grab to stop them getting on the point. I almost guarantee this.
Yeah, Rams gonna have to split up, be pretty careful with their pathing, see if they can get someone else to touch the point. Speedwagon actually holding back on that grab allows Rams to advance onto the point. King moving over to that Soldier, a little bit more mobility, see if he can contest an archer on the high ground.
Oh, we've got the Nano Boost, sounded like it was coming out onto Bastion. Bastion gets 2 and he gets Tank Form at the same time, not even needing to commit it. Wizard on an absolute tear gets 4. Tank Form coming in just for the BM of clearing up on Tank Form. That is all she wrote for this fight as the tank goes right towards Spawn, but that's all over and Swarm take this 4-0.
And Speedwagon playing so passive on that Zarya, not going for the early grab, was actually a set play because it allowed Nano Bastion to get set up in this alleyway. It was a little bit of a bait and switch. Great play from Swarm as they secured a 4-0 in this series.
I do like that. Look, receiving the Nano Boost just as the hook came in, stopping that kill coming through, and it did look a little bit like King gave up there, just stopping on the spot to let that happen.
And we do have to shout out Mbromi again, being so impactful on that Ana. It looked like it might all be over for Bastion when Amazing came through that hook, but it was shut down by a crucial sleep as well, so setting up the Nano, being able to farm that up quickly, and the sleep there, secure that for Wizard. Mbromi's been an unsung hero for this team.
Well, there we go, we're singing now. I'm not actually going to sing, we've got nothing prepared. But yeah, Mbromi doing some serious work on that Ana pick.
Absolutely. And we talked about it very much in the first map back in Busan, the hard carry support with those nades, and it's coming through again. Whenever he picks up on this Ana, he's so impactful. Yeah,
Ana is one of these heroes that if you allow the Ana to go uncontested, that is just as big a problem as a Hanzo that's uncontested, because
Absolutely.
You know, you're getting damage, you're getting healing, but I genuinely think that Biotic Grenade is one of the strongest, if not the strongest abilities in the game, just to shut down all of that healing.
Yeah. Especially with the recent changes to D.Va, where she's lost some of the utility in the defense matrix, seeing her fall out of the meta is really letting Ana come back in. And that's a joy to watch. I am a terrible Ana player, but I love watching Ana play. So impactful when you can land those consistent sleeps and nades. And it's really high skill as well. It's not like it's easy abilities to land. No,
it's not shield bash. It's you've got to have that good mechanical aim to get anything done. Unfortunately, that is everything that we've got from our first match this evening. So that was a 4-0 Swarm beating Rams in this round. But we're coming back shortly to see Leviathans versus Brawlers in our second match of this evening. So I hope you'll join us. Hello, welcome back. This is the second of our evening's matches at today's Arena Clash. We are, of course, going to be seeing Leviathans versus Brawlers. We've got Big Hungry Phil and Danny Vowles on the desk with you today. So for those of you that are Vowles fans in the audience, here he is, Big Daddy Vowles. How's it going, Big Daddy Vowles? Good, I broke him, everybody. So, we have a kind of unusual match coming up for you today. Normally, we see PC players versus PC players. We're actually going to be seeing some console players against some PC players today, so you may notice some changes in the gameplay. The console players are playing on a PC, but they're playing with controller options. So, I don't think I've ever cast a console player versus PC player game, so it's going to be interesting to see just how that works out.
Both my housemates play Overwatch on console.
I'm a console
they
player.
frequently insist to me that console players are the significant race. I've seen that. I've seen their gameplay. I can neither confirm or deny that statement, but there you have it.
Well, I don't want to get too deep into this because it's a contentious issue. But there is top 500 PS4 and top 500 console, top 500 PC. Maybe not that as dissimilar as you would think. There are definitely people that have made the jump and placed at similar places.
To be fair, Gator, Overwatch League Pro, made a big splash on his debut for the Event Terrain this week. Came from console.
Yeah, and also partly to blame for Goats, having played on the Goats team that pioneered that strategy.
Goats had 2 console players actually. Tensor, the main support,
Tensor
also came from console. So if you hate free, blame console players.
Yeah, it's entirely our fault. But I think they were Xbox players. So as a PS4 player, not my problem.
You're all the same to me.
Console blindness from Big Daddy Valves. You heard it here. He doesn't care about you folks, but I do. I'm here and I care for our console players. So we are, of course, going to be going through the same map pool as you have just seen. We're going to be starting off at Busan. And another point that it is worth bringing up here is, of course, because they are console players and because they are playing on PC, our console players for the side of Brawlers are not actually going to be playing with their Scream names. So we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about character names rather than specific players. So do bear with us through that.
Yeah. Just remember the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm hoping everyone in chat can count to 6.
Let's not give them too much credit if we don't have to.
I believe.
Okay, but let's talk about the team we do know a little bit about. There's Leviathans here. What can you tell us about what we can expect from Leviathans?
I can tell you to look out for Mr. Adrenaline. We saw some star DPS players in our previous match with King, Wizard, Inatra. Mr. Adrenaline, he's going to be the player of that character. He's the highest ranked player on Leviathans. If there's going to be any star player for this team, it's going to be Mr. Adrenaline.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about the raw numbers, at 3.6k at last reckoning, he is over 1,000 SR higher than anybody else on his team. So there's quite a lot of carry potential here. That's quite a big SR gap.
I mean, whenever I lose, I just blame my teammates. He's actually got a reason to. For me, maybe not so much, but...
Yeah, let's maybe not wish anything on these people that we can't take back.
I never wish anything on the people I cast. I wish them all the well.
I see. Good. I'm glad that we've got that cleared up, Vowels. I was worried for a second there that you were just going to be vindictive for the rest of the evening.
Only to you.
Having already revealed your disdain for console players, I figured it was just going to be downhill from here.
I never said I had disdain for console players, just experience.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put as many words in your mouth as I can just to make myself look better on stream. But we are very shortly about to come into it. I think I've tried to start talking about it a couple of times now. We're going to be moving away into Busan. It's our first map. It's going to be our control map. And I don't know, I feel like it's kind of hard to predict what we're going to see from console players versus PC players, because it's two very different metas, different things. For example, Widowmaker is not anywhere near as strong on console as she is on PC. It's because we have these two little nubby sticks that are controlling for us.
You know who... Someone I am excited to see that we saw not on Mecha Base but on Downtown earlier is Wrecking Ball. I imagine Wrecking Ball, if he used to console controls, he might be quite easy to operate actually. Maybe not easy. Wrecking Ball's not easy to play, but maybe it's a little bit more intuitive sometimes.
As a Wrecking Ball player, he feels pretty good on console.
Okay, we'll take that.
I can't comment on how he feels on PC because I can't deal with the WASD configuration for movement. My brain just can't cope.
As someone who's attempted to play Wrecking Ball on PC, I promise you that it's probably me. I'm probably the reason I can't play him, and it's not a character.
It's good. I like that you're so honest about it.
We'll have to see. And we are actually going to have a Wrecking Ball. Okay, I fell into the trap.
Yeah, you did it with 30 seconds left to go. You can't start talking about it just yet.
No. See, some interesting hero picks. Is this what console meta looks like with the Brawlers team here?
Not always. Not on this map. I mean, to be honest, I would look at this some days and go, oh, do you know what? That's what we got with 2-2-2. I'm happy with that.
I mean, I talked earlier about how much I love these more creative picks that are a little bit more inventive, catch us a little bit off guard, and get credit to the Brawlers. That's the play style they are going to be going for here. It's going to be really important that their Orisa gets a lot of value at that shield, keeping everyone alive. We've got to look at the junk. That's the main source of damage here.
Yeah, and of course we're going to be seeing that symmetry used, hopefully, just to try and punish anybody that wants to get in and brawl behind the Orisa shield. I do like Brawlers actually very cleverly moving as a unit here. Unfortunately, too much damage coming in onto the D.Va. The D.Va demeched by Mr. Adrenaline on the Hanzo with that Stormbow. Monster Chafe, Benny Jelly with the follow-up, and that is going to be all she wrote for team fight number 1 of Leviathans versus Brawlers.
Yeah, well, it was a very smart rotation, but unfortunately they dropped down to the point a little bit too early. It didn't actually unlock yet, so they couldn't start keeping up that percentage. And they gave away the high ground to the Hanzo and the Zenyatta, and that's something you almost never want to do. They could just shoot over the shield, got the picks from the people trying to bunker behind the Orisa, and now we're going to see a recontest. And recontesting with Orisa, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
No, it's not. Of course, incredibly easy just to walk past the shield. Apparently, it's very easy to do that if you are Orisa yourself. The shield went down, and there was no follow-up, and we've got the sentry turrets down. Mr. Adrenaline pops the Dragon Strike, and away we go again. Brawler's forced right back. Only 40% ult charge for this Orisa, not spending a huge amount of time alive.
It felt like that was more of a miscommunication from the Brawlers. The May War came up from Steak Boy Jeff, cutting them off at the choke. It meant that only the Orisa and the Zenyatta had been able to... The Junkrat, sorry, had been able to move through. The rest of the team caught off. Maybe a little bit of miscommunication there, not realising the rest of the team was stranded and all caught on point themselves. So now, a little bit of a better rotation, but again the May War come through. Yeah,
A very good presence of mind from this May wall, and it does mean that unfortunately the Orisa gets taken out of the fight into a 1v6. Earthshatter coming in from BCJ, maybe not even necessary, just a show of dominance. Just gonna casually kill the Reaper as he swings into view. And 70% were getting very close to dangerous territory for Brawlers.
Yeah, Leviathan is not exactly lacking ultimates, so I can't hate that Earthshatter too much. It was a nice cleanup. I would like to see the Brawlers maybe moving on to the Lucio, just so they have the mobility and the speed boost to be able to get through these chokes without being split off. But that's crucial. Mr. Adrenaline, we've talked about him in the pre-show, getting a huge pick, two huge picks,
just completely stopping this team fight before it even happens, and the freeze onto the Baby Diva. Mr. Adrenaline tosses off another Dragon Strike, and there's going to be nobody even close to the point to get in on that contest. Oh no, actually, look, we've got somebody on there. The Valkyrie gets popped just to buy a bit of mobility for the Mercy to get in onto the point. Does manage to bring the Diva back into the fight, but of course that Discord Orb sitting on the Diva makes it incredibly difficult for her to stay alive. And that is going to be surely... Oh, she wrote it's a final change there off of the... Oh, I didn't even see what they went off on, but we do have a monkey in the fight. Winston brought in, but too little too late for Brawlers.
I believe that was the former Flex DPS. We saw the Junkrat and the Reaper move on to the monkey at the last second. Just for a little bit more of a health pool, be able to reach the point and last a little bit longer. I can see the logic behind it, but unfortunately, it's a pretty strong showing from the Leviathans early on. Hard word to say.
It is, especially when you're trying to talk at speed. You've got to really work on those rap god skills if you're going to be talking about Leviathans at any sort of rate of knots.
I am not a rap god in the slightest, and that's why I do colour.
I see. Well, now that we know exactly how that's worked, whereas I don't have a brain, but I can just talk really fast, which is why I'm a play-by-play caster.
Works perfectly.
Yeah, it's a good combo. Brawlers looking like the sticking with this composition didn't bear much fruit for them in the previous round. I suspect what we're seeing here is comfort picks, knowing that they're going into a difficult matchup.
Absolutely. We're going to see a little bit of an interesting composition. It's a triple tank dive coming out from the Leviathans, paired with the mobility on the Lucio and the AoE healing from the Moira, and then to back it all up, the Reaper, the extra punish and burst damage on opposing tanks. It's not a combination we see too often, but it could work really well, especially against a slow-moving Orisa.
Yeah, I think Brawlers need to spend a little bit more time here trying to just support their Reaper, keep the Reaper alive, burst down some tanks, and build ult progress, build capture progress from there. But I do think the Leviathan's starting to get the upper hand here. They've managed to just isolate a couple of targets. The Symmetra turret's starting to do a little bit of work, having taken down Serendipity on the Moira, but unfortunately that is too many people down to really carry this fight.
Yeah, losing the Serendipity is going to hurt the Leviathans, as they're suddenly lacking a lot of healing. We only have the Lucio solo heals. But the Brawlers, forced back by these tanks and the Reaper, just have to play around this corner. They can't really do much. The Resurrection does come through onto the Orisa,
but so many people left alive, that's unfortunate. It does mean that we do finally get a kill. BCJ falling to the Diva and the Hulk coming in from the Orisa, but it was a very, very risky revive coming in there. Would have maybe rather have had the hard reset on that.
Absolutely. Popping the Valkyrie now just to try and make this fight last a little bit longer. You've got that chain healing, and the healing does actually increase back up to 60 HPS. It gives you a little bit more survivability.
Yeah, but we've got a couple of good potential combos coming online. If we can get the Reaper Death Blossom, we can get the Orisa Supercharger online together, that's going to be a really difficult ult to counter.
And you could actually go for quite a smart set play with this. If you can catch the opposition off guard with an interesting pathing route and then TP into the point with that Death Blossom, maybe that can catch the Leviathans off guard. But the Symmetra can't go for a TP play if she's dead. That's a nice stagger again.
Yeah, but does get res back into the fight, 92% on this big, impactful 5,000 HP barrier. Got a Farah in the mix now as well, so lots of DPS options for the Brawlers. They're actually running triple DPS at this point, solo tank, but you are going to fall to the Moira Orb if you are that Pharaoh. That's unfortunate. Orisa looking to set up on this high ground, but gets immediately dived by the Winston coming in, and you're getting double dived with the D.Va coming in as well. And finally, Mr. Adrenaline on the Reaper means that is going to be a really bad time. Mr. Adrenaline with the triple takes down 3 with the Death Blossom. 88% capture point progress. It's not looking good if you're the Brawlers here. You need to get in and start using these ultimates effectively. Well, the ultimate's been used. I wouldn't say it was effective. It almost went entirely into that D.Va defense matrix and getting followed up with a kill by Mr. Adrenaline, taking out his opposite number. That's going to be all she wrote. Leviathan's taking that without breaking a sweat.
We talk about Mr. Adrenaline with that Death Blossom, but it was crucial that Serendipity popped that Coalescence just to keep him alive, give that little bit more sustain, zone some of the Brawlers away so they couldn't really punish, and we talked about him being the star DPS.
Here he is, player of the game.
Well earned player of the game on this Hanzo.
Yeah, it's a really bad positioning there from the Orisa, just right out in the open. And then just everybody coming up through that tunnel, getting caught in that Dragon Strike. Really unfortunate positioning if you are Brawlers in that fight.
It was a really nice angle on that Dragon Strike as well. Pretty smart, knowing that there was effectively no escape there, because they were flooding out, coming to the left, in the path of the Dragon Strike. If they tried to retreat back into the tunnel, still in the path of the Dragon Strike. If you run out the right, away from the Dragon Strike, you're running into the team. There really wasn't a way out.
Yeah, congratulations, you've turned the entire map into Dragon Strike for Brawlers. That's really quite the achievement. So I think one of the things that's maybe worth talking about here is the difference in target acquisition speed between console and Overwatch. So I made my start casting PS4 Overwatch, and I've moved to casting PC Overwatch. The speed at which the game moves, just because of how slow the console controllers are compared to the flick of a wrist of a mouse, means that there is a very definite advantage for Leviathans in this, just because they can turn around so much more quickly, they can get to the targets that bit faster, so you really are starting on the back foot if you're Brawlers here.
And that's definitely what we saw from Mr. Adrenaline, particularly in that Hanzo, having that aiming speed, effectively. It was so crucial. You saw some of those flicks in that play of the game before we built up the Dragon Strike. That was pretty good to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you can flick on a console controller, but it's very hard, and it's often not the preferable strategy.
Probably
you
not.
see, pretty much all heroes, with the exception of when you start to get to the higher levels and people know how to flick with a controller, and I'm not going to admit to being one of those guys. I'm not mechanically gifted in any way. It is just a much harder environment. It's effectively playing against somebody with about half the sensitivity that you have at your availability.
To be fair, I don't think either of us are mechanically gifted, and that's why we are here and not in that game.
Those who can do, those who can't just talk about how bad the people who can do are. Yeah, that's kind of how this works. But Busan now out of the way with 2 maps in that 3-map pool, going over to Leviathans. We're going to be moving over onto Rialto now, so we're going to be seeing our payload map coming up. Obviously, different set of strategies involved. I'm going to be really interested to see, because we saw basically the same strategy come out twice, despite the fact it didn't work in the first instance for Brawlers. If they're going to be using something similar, because it strikes me that having that Orisa comfort pick, it sets you up quite nicely to run like a pirate ship on the payload, and if you can get that rolling, it's pretty good on Rialto.
I was just about to mention, combine that with the Mercy we saw coming out, to get the damage boost, or maybe the Bastion if you set him up as the pirate ship, that could be really crucial for the Brawlers here. Maybe that's what we see coming out, we'll have to see. But
what I was going to say was, in our previous map, a previous matchup for Rams vs Swarms, we actually saw Hanzo take early high ground and then never be challenged and just completely take control of that fight. We've already seen Mr. Adrenaline do incredibly well on the Hanzo pick already. So Brawlers need to be careful that they're not just giving up all their high ground advantage and letting Mr. Adrenaline control the fight from the high ground.
And that's exactly what we're rolling out on Mr. Adrenaline, on that trusty Hanzo. We're seeing, again, a Steakboy Jeff coming out in this May. We talk about comfort picks from Brawlers. Maybe that's a bit of a comfort pick for him. We saw him pulling out on Mecha Base, not on downtown, because it's not really a May favourable map, but where he can, he wants to pull out this May, get that zone control to split off, maybe with some of these slower console players, because they're not running Lucio. That's what we are going to see from the Brawlers family, though.
Yeah, and again, this second player in the lineup running the Orisa, we've not seen them run anything else yet, but triple DPS is an interesting approach to this fight. They've got to be so coordinated to make this work, and look how quickly that Orisa barrier goes down, just to the long-range damage coming in both from Benny Jelly's Orisa and the shield break of the Hog. A good tactic here would be to try and pop in the Orisa Holt, try and get a couple of environmental kills. It's looking like they may have lost that opportunity. We're starting to see a little bit of progress. Oh, that's a nice hook there, sending Orisa down to the depths.
The first ever character I mained was Roadhog,
Ah.
way back in the day. And even though he's not always in the best state and hasn't been over the last couple of years, it warms my heart to see huge hooks like that. Seeing Miller May coming out, we actually saw a double May wall stack at the moment there. But this Farah pick is interesting to me because maybe you've got the Zen to contest it, maybe you've got Mr. Adrenaline on the Hanzo, but there's no true hit scan to try and shut down the tower, so maybe they can get something going there.
Yeah, and having the Mercy Pocket as well is going to be incredibly powerful, and we are starting to see Brawlers actually looking pretty good here. They've taken out 2, they've taken out Benny Jelly and Serendipity, down goes Monster Chafe, and they're going to have to make some changes to try and deal with this Pharmacy, because at the minute they are just absolutely running roughshod with it.
Yeah, it was a nice little pick from the May onto the Roadhog at the end there, just stagger it a little bit more, and now we're going to see some changes coming up from the Leviathans. Monster Chief moving over to this Lucio, BCJ onto the Reinhardt, and he's going to give the Ultimate Economy a little bit more over to the Brawlers. They've got the Barrage in line, the Valkyrie as well, combined with the Supercharger, so there's a lot of potential for a lot of damage to come through in this fight.
Yeah, but there we go. Dragon Strike comes in, does take out the Lucio, and following up just with the Stormbow, Stakey Boy Jeff having swapped over onto the Hitscan Hero means that we are going to be very close to having got a team wipe in that fight with very little invested into it.
Yeah, great work. It does give a huge ultimate advantage over to the Brawlers there, even more so than we saw before. They're going to have the Symmetra shield online as well, 76 to the Blizzard, but it may get shut down by a great pick by Snake Boy Jeff on the Ash.
Yeah, completely. You hate to see the Brawlers in this position because they are just getting taken out one after the other, and they have so much resource ready to invest if only they can get a bit of space to actually pour this in. And it looks like the Farah is having to back right the way off just to buy a little bit of safety. That's really unfortunate. Such a good pick there from Mr. Adrenaline, able to take out the long-range Farah, meaning that they're going to have to wait even longer before they can start getting some of these resources in. In fact, we've got nearly a full stack of ultimates for Brawlers. They've just got to get the Blizzard online and they'll be good to go.
Crucial wall there from the Maid to saving herself from the Reinhardt charge, but doesn't stop the Reinhardt aggressing in. Going to pop the Blizzard now, but gets shut down before they can follow up. And those crucial Zarya bubbles mean everyone's going to get out alive.
Oh, that's unfortunate. We did see Farah looking to come around and pop that barrage, but the second the barrage noise came around, instant turn and lock on from Mr. Adrenaline, taking them down out of the fight. Benny Jelly looking just to press in, and we've got the... I don't know, for some reason we've had the Symmetra wall. It has protected Symmetra, but it hasn't been providing a lot of value to anybody else on the team.
At the very least, it's going to stop any more staggers coming through. Brawlers, they've got a little bit of a chance to regroup. With 45 seconds left on the clock, maybe you can squeeze in 2 fights here, but with the slow-moving Resotol comp, it's maybe only one. We're finally going to see a swap-up. We're seeing the Junkrat and Hanzo coming up now, finally moving off that Symmetra. But it's a little bit too little too late. You need to force something now.
Yeah, 30 seconds left is not a huge amount of time in which to build Ultimate. Orisa brought back into the fight. We've seen a swap now. We've got a Winston coming into the fight, but is that going to be enough? With 20 seconds left on the clock, I seriously doubt it, especially with that huge zoning dragon coming in, splitting off the team. Sound barrier coming out. This is exactly the window you need. You need to use that sound barrier to get in and pop some aggression, but it's not going to be enough. Monster Chafe and Mr. Adrenaline with a quick 2k. Mr. Adrenaline again just everywhere in this fight. Bob on the field. Bob has done something. Bob's taken both the Mercy and the Junkrat out of the fight. Overtime Wick trickles down, and that is going to be it for that offensive push for Brawlers.
Credit to the Brawlers, they did manage to win at least one fight. It's not too dire. If you can put up a full hold, then you do have still potential to win this map, but it's a pretty dominant defense from the Leviathans. They're looking pretty solid over the start of the series so far.
Yeah, so I mean 77 metres, just under 77 metres for Leviathans to push this payload, and so far we've seen Brawlers not really able to do much to put a dent in Leviathans.
Absolutely. The Orisa comp running on offense is not always the greatest idea, so it's not too surprising they were unable to make anything work there. However, it's a much stronger pick on the defense, so if we start seeing that coming out, maybe if they set up the Junkrat behind it, like we saw coming out the end, get a nice little bunker going, that might throw a spanner in the works and make things harder for Leviathans.
Yeah, but one of the things that we have seen a problem with just Orisa in general is that basically the counter to Orisa is just walk past her barrier, and we've seen that Leviathans have that mobility on the side. BCJ on the Reinhardt has been really, really strong, so they need to be really clever about how they set up here and how they make the most use of these picks. Brawler's running a triple DPS lineup once again.
Well, if your aim is to try and bunker down with the Orisa, then this is a fairly smart triple DPS. I say smart, it's intuitive at the very least. You've got a lot of splash damage from both the Farah and the Junkrat, really good at spamming and controlling zones, and the Symmetra able to set up a turret, make it hard to advance past some of these corners. I can see the logic behind it, and setting up the Orisa on the high ground as well, it's hard to run into, but it might be pretty easy to dive if you can't get the spam damage off.
Yeah, interesting positioning from the Mercy early on in the fight. Has repositioned to be slightly more competitive in that. I like this early fire strike coming in from the high ground. BCJ just getting a lot of early charge on that, and there we go, straight in. Steak Boy Jeff around the back takes out the Orisa. I said it, you've just got to walk past the Orisa, and she doesn't put up too much of a fight. So slow to turn, slow to actually focus with the... Oh, but the Junkrat getting a quick 2, taking out both healers, but it doesn't matter because Mr. Adrenaline and Benny Jelly even equalise quite quickly, and we are getting very, very close to capture point here. Half of the way there. They've just got to buy a little bit of space and stagger out some of these kills, and this is all theirs for the taking.
Absolutely. Mr. Adrenaline constantly finding these picks. That's a nice two quick kills onto the Mercy and the Symmetra. Means it's just the Orisa there to put up a defense. Shut down by Stickboy Jeff again. And that's going to be all she wrote. We're seeing the last stalls and staggers coming out to the point, but they're not going to be able to put up a full defense. And that's going to be Leviathans, once they clear off the payload, going up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Really wasn't much of a match there for us to talk about. Leviathan's going to take that really easily, and, you know, it's unfortunate. You don't want to harp on about it too much, but I think this is just very much an artifact of the mouse and keyboard setup versus the controller setup. It is just such a huge advantage to have the speed of the mouse on your side.
Absolutely, especially when you're putting it in the control of players like Mr. Adrenaline and Steak Boy Jeff. I mean, we've talked about Mr. Adrenaline a lot. I've got to give credit to Steak Boy Jeff doing really well on that Tracer, finding the 2 quick kills.
Yeah, early pick onto the Orisa was really impactful.
Yeah, meant the bunker was effectively shut down. Even though the Junkrat found 2 kills of his own, he didn't really have a defensive position to hold behind, and that was... the defense fell apart already, and as soon as the Orisa came back in, guess who shut it down again? Steak Boy Jeff.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I would like to see we'd obviously have a couple more mats left to play. I would like to see something else other than this Orisa bunker setup that we've seen from Brawlers so far. Let's see your Reinhardt play. Let's see some Zarya play. Let's get in there and brawl. Don't just sit behind the Orisa bunker and hope for the best. Let's be more proactive in these next few rounds.
I would like to see some Wrecking Ball as well. When they're going for these triple DPS lineups with the Mercy as well, the Wrecking Ball can work so much better than the Orisa with that. Having that mobility, having the survivability. You can't just run over a Wrecking Ball like you can Orisa, because he's just going to roll away. It's really hard to actually apply pressure and punish that Wrecking Ball a lot of times, so maybe if we see a Wrecking Ball player coming out from Brawlers, that could be an option to go for.
It's certainly one of the more fun parts of playing Wrecking Ball, is if you know that you're going to see BCJ over on the Reinhardt every map, then having that Wrecking Ball just to swing in and ruin the Reinhardt's day is honestly probably the best part of playing Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, it is sad how much of this game is just ruining Reinhardt's day. He doesn't have a fun time.
Yeah, I do play Reinhardt as well, so I sympathise. But
you
know,
look like a Reinhardt player.
I look like Reinhardt, just not blonde enough. I've got the size and I've got the beard. Yeah, maybe that'd be my next cosplay.
Maybe.
Or first cosplay. One of those.
You should join me. Dye your hair blonde as well.
Well, that would make all 3 casters for the arena clash would be blonde then. And to delve into my deep dark past, I have been platinum blonde in the past. I used to have shoulder length platinum blonde hair. I used to if I had the current beard and if I was a bit bulkier, I would have looked like Reinhardt.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go. I'll work on it for next week, but I think I might have to spend a bit more time growing my hair out before I can really join the blonde caster club.
Well, we've got time. We've got a couple more weeks left. We're only on week 2 of the Arena Clash. We've got plenty of time left. Come to finals of Insomnia, you'll be there.
Yeah, okay, there we go. I'll grow my hair out just for Insomnia, or maybe I'll buy a wig. It seems like a much easier way to tackle this.
Yeah, it's the cop out though.
Yeah. So just moving away from talking about my hair for a second, if we can go back to talking about one of the reasons why the console players are maybe struggling against the PC players. It seems to me like there is a really obvious answer here. So the problem with playing on console versus PC is that you don't have that quick mechanical high precision control. If only there was some sort of composition that relied more on a sense of positioning and timing, maybe tracking over flick shots that the brawlers could use to their advantage here. Is there a composition like that?
Maybe one developed by console players that could take the PC world by storm.
Maybe. Well, tell you what, guys, we'll look into
Could
it.
name it after your favourite animal.
I could, yes. The ocelot. No, that's not right.
Ocelot.
Ocelot. Yeah.
Ocelot's comp.
The ocelot.
That's what we're going to call it. The Orisa bunker comps in offense, it's Ocelot now.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like a big, vicious cat name for 6 DPS is like, let's have the tiger comp is just 6 DPS. Or maybe that's just my ladder
that's cool.
games.
Yeah, I was going to say that's my ladder
games.
We did see an adjustment on Rialto that I did like running the Lucio instead of the Mercy Moira setup. You're lacking some of the healing that you get from Mercy Moira, but the mobility is so crucial. Obviously it didn't pay off and they still lost map, but it looks a little bit better. Having that mobility to get the Orisa out of danger, not just being run over all the time by tanks, buys you a little bit more time to get that damage down. It was a nice adjustment. I feel like they've got a couple more adjustments to go before they can make this work, but they're trying things.
Yeah.
They're not just running the exact same thing over and over. There are small adjustments to the machine, and I can give them credit for that. I like it.
So one of the things, if they are going to keep running this Orisa bunker composition, particularly on maps like Ilios Well, you see a lot of this bunker composition, but the way it's run with a Lucio is that you get a very quick reposition each time. So you're using that Lucio speed boost basically just to play keep away whilst the rest of your team do damage. So, brawlers could do that quite easily.
Also with the Lucio, you get the most important part of any composition on Ilios Well. Boop kills. you run the Pharah, you run the Orisa, you run the Roadhog, the Lucio. Who else has boops? Brig with the shield bash and the whip shot.
D.Va, a little bit harder to do with the D.Va, but still there.
I'm not sure about like the Lucio Brig heals. We need a main healer to come into the game with like the healing levels of Mercy or Anna. Who's got
an environmental kill potential?
Yeah, and then we can run the ultimate Ilios Well and the Pal Sanctum comp.
I mean, okay, you could put Anna into that composition and just have her waiting anytime somebody goes over the pit, just to sleep and into the pit.
Unfortunately, we're still near the Mediterranean, not a million miles from Ilios, but it's going to be Anubis here.
Yeah,
not Ilios Well quite yet.
No, it is still pretty warm. If we do go to map 5, we will see Ilios Well potentially. Brawlers coming out. We've seen this a couple of times. Maybe a couple of adaptations here. We've got an Anna in the mix, but we've also got the Orisa Symmetra comp on defense, and we've got a really interesting position here for a defense for Brawlers.
Yep, coming right in the back corner gives you so many You're giving up a lot of space.
Nice early pick from Brawlers.
And yeah, that's pretty good. I think that might be the first time we've seen Mr. Adrenaline dying on that Hanzo.
Yeah.
That's how dominant he's been on the pick, so being able to shut him down, he's now got to play the mind games of. He's constantly looking around. Where's the trap? Where's the bomb? Where is it now? Watch their feet. It buys you time to set up because you're putting that fear in the brains of the offense.
Yeah, but this actually might end up working out quite well for Brawlers. They've got a long sight line here down for Leviathans to come and actually engage, but they've got to be quick and get out of the way of that incoming damage. Leviathans rotating up onto the high ground. It looks like they're just going to go up top and collapse down onto this defensive bunker, having spotted the really easy win there. Mr. Adrenaline taking out the Anna from Brawlers. The D.Va comes in. It's a nice attempt at a recontest. Unfortunately, if you go in on your own, exactly that is going to happen. Mr. Adrenaline is going to fill you full of arrows. You're going to come out looking like a porcupine. Just the Orisa left, not actually even on the point. That's unfortunate. The Mei comes in looking to try and take her out and freeze her. And that's going to be Leviathans in 2 pushes taking point A Anubis.
It wasn't a complete stomp. The Brawlers did manage to find 2 picks onto Monster Chafe on the Lucio and Standby Jeff on the Mei, so they got the bad original spawns as well, so that buys time for Brawlers. They've got Leviathans have to wait for the Mei and the Lucio to return from spawn before they can advance here, and that buys time for the Brawlers to get us up. Not going to make any swaps, they're going to rely purely on this Riptide here.
Yeah, and this Riptide could be very good in halting any push. If it can get a couple of key picks, if it takes out the supports, then this could be really, really impactful. And they have to know that this is crunch time. This Tyre has to come in now. It's a nice trap, has allowed Brawlers to get out of the way, but he dies without it. I suspect we're going to see this fired from spawn, but that might be too little too late. Would have liked to have seen that a little bit earlier. D.Va gets demeched, and the poor baby D.Va gets swallowed up by the dragon, and we're going to see the Tyre gets 2, but it might be too little too late, because there are 3 on point, and Leviathans are going to take that, even with that incredibly impactful Tyre from Brawlers.
And it's really unfortunate for the Brawlers there, but you can't let your sole win condition die at the start of fights like that, because then you don't really have any options. The Leviathans, knowing that that's their opening, just dump all their ultimates in. You invest a Dragon Strike, you invest a Supercharger, you invest everything you have, and Brawlers just come up short. Like, that was a nice Riptire right at the end out of spawn.
It was just about 20 seconds too late.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a death too late.
Yes, it really was one death too late, which is unfortunate. I think maybe one of the things that we're seeing here, other than the disparity that we've talked about previously between playing with a mouse and playing with a controller, is it just seems like Brawlers aren't talking about what their plan is. They're going, oh good, I've got an ultimate, I'm going to press, I actually don't know what button it is on the Xbox, I think it might be X. I'm going to press X for my ultimate and hope for the best. But really you want to come into these fights saying, we are going to use this and this to achieve this end, and that's just not happening.
I believe it's Y. As in, why am I using this ultimate now and not waiting?
Nicely done, Vowels.
So Brawlers coming out on the offense, still sticking to this Orisa composition, but this is the same. This is going to be effectively the same composition as we saw on their Rialto defense, with the double spam and then the Symmetra as well. The double spam at least could be good for punishing a defensive setup from the Leviathans. That said, Mr. Adrenaline on this Hanzo has been so pinpoint accurate at shutting down these high mobility Sparrows and Mercies. I don't know how much value you're actually going to get from the Brawlers.
Probably not a lot, but this is the thing that I actually play with quite a lot. I play with a Symmetra player, and coming in onto Anubis and just TPing onto the point, a lot of people don't expect it. You can get some early value, but we've not seen that sort of set play coming out from the Symmetra player on Brawlers yet. They've just been going for this pure DPS, non-strategic style of Symmetra play, and so the Orisa has made it through the choke, but it looks like they've made it through the choke alone, waiting for the rest of the team to catch up, and they're going to find themselves probably effectively bottled up here. Unfortunately, nice attempt at getting a Symmetra turret in place. It's going to get immediately taken out by the Hammer of the Reinhardt, and that means that the Junkrat for Brawlers is going to fall, instantly rezzed up by the Mercy for Brawlers. And they're just looking to try and stay back here, maybe build a couple of ultimates with 63% on the way to this Mercy ult, 50% of the way to getting the barrage, but Monster Chafe is kind of living up to his name, certainly the monster part of it, just pinging this Junkrat left and right.
Yeah, it was great at the start of that from the Brawlers. They managed to get a nice pick onto Mr. Adrenaline Hanzo, who's now sprinting back on the Soldier, but they weren't able to follow up, and now investing the Coalescence just to push for that gap. Serendipity did pretty well to build up the Coalescence so quickly, but it's not the hardest thing to do against so much spam damage. Just hold out your left click, build up so much healing, you're gonna get those Coalescence pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to this Orisa player and find out what the rationale is for playing this attacking style of Orisa, because it's not a very usual thing. In fact, I can't think that I've ever seen it run successfully. Yes, they've got that ultimate, but it's so hard to move forward through that static shield.
It's going to be interesting now. We're seeing some of these ultimates coming online for the Farah and the Junkrat, but Symmetra, Mercy and Orisa all taking very, very low. They need to try and regroup. They're bunkered off in here, split off by the wall, and the Blizzard has invested too.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. To be honest, it's great for Leviathans. The Blizzard coming out means that I think we may be very close to hearing that team kill bell. No, we've still got the Farah getting out. No, she gets taken down by Monster Chafe.
Unfortunately,
not quick enough. No team bell kill.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Mercy was resurrected first. We didn't quite hear that perfect gong, and now it's going to be a Riptire from spawn again from the Junkrat.
Yeah, it needs to be a huge Riptire if they're going to get an opening here. There's 6 seconds left on it. They're not quite sure where they're going to try and find. There's 2 seconds left on it, and it gets taken down. Excellent tracking work with Mr. Adrenaline. That was a big fight opener. Should maybe not have been committed quite so far from spawn, and we're going to see D.Va go down. There's so much there that she just cannot defense matrix between the Zarya and the Mei, and we're going to see Brawlers thrown right back once again.
Definitely pretty unfortunate, but I mean, Mr. Adrenaline shooting stuff out the sky, name a more iconic duo.
Yeah, I think actually the Junkrat for Brawlers getting taken out in some respect by Monster Chafe might be a more iconic duo here.
Well, that's open for debate. Brawlers still sticking with the same offense. Symmetra gets taken out by the Moira Orb. You can't have that with this teammate comes to D.Va now with a minute left. By the time these staggers are finished, you're probably only going to have time for one more fight. Sure, you're going to have a couple of ultimates, but it's really hard to engage with a lot of these ultimates. More defensive, I'd say. It's going to depend on if the Farah can get value. D.Va staggered, Junkrat staggered, Mr. Adrenaline almost halfway to another visor.
There's a barrage, does take out Serendipity, but it's not going to be enough because they'll get Helix rocketed out of the sky by Mr. Adrenaline once again. And there we go, the Graviton comes out and the Transcendence, just for good measure, extra particle effects in the last fight of the game.
I think we're going to see this D.Va setting up for a Hail Mary grab. Hail Mary bomb, sorry, it goes over the top. but it falls short just like everything else the Brawlers are doing right now.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. You can't blame them for trying. It was certainly worth a go. Nice swap at the end there over onto the Winston. Could maybe have done to see that in slightly earlier, maybe in place of the Orisa, but no one's even going to be able to come in. Oh no, we've just got the Baby Diva on the payload, on the point. It's not going to be up, but we did finally hear it. We rang the team kill bell, and that is going to be a full hold Leviathans, full holding Brawlers on point A Anubis.
Yeah, and again, it's the same themes we've seen all the way through. Brawlers running these Orisa-based comps with the Symmetra and the Mercy as well. They just aren't able to set up on time and find value. And it's good work from the Leviathans, recognising that they can just play these aggressive positions and punish before the Orisa gets set up, and they're just going to win every fight off the back of that. And if you are given all that space, if you're given all that time to punish the setup, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting again that 3 maps, 3 plays of the game for Mr. Adrenaline. We called it at the beginning. He's the player to watch, and he's absolutely proving that. Yes, it was with the auto-aiming attack visor, but you know, you've got to have the tracking and the skill to get that ultimate in the first place.
Yeah, it's not the fastest ultimate to build up, especially with the state soldiers in, struggling against a lot of these high healing, high shield compositions. Mr. Adrenaline doing well to make it work, and actually swapped to that soldier because of the Pharah. So at the very least, paying respect to the Brawlers, knowing you need the hit scan presence to be more reliable against the Pharah. Probably going to be moving back over to his trusty Hanzo on King's Row, being able to abuse him at that high ground, but at least you made them swap. At least the Brawlers know that they demanded some level of respect.
So this is one of the maps that I think, certainly on the point A defense, this Orisa pick could, if played right, work out for the Brawlers if they can get this high horse, you know, get a bunker, get a Roadhog, get a Junkrat just behind that bunker. But I would still like to see something other than Orisa, because it's just not working for Brawlers at the minute.
There is so much high ground and so many sightlines around this first point you can abuse. If you set up the Orisa on kind of the corner here, you have the Junkrat coming out one window, the Soldier in another, have a Mercy flying between them all. It can be really hard to push into.
Yeah, make it like a DPS advent calendar with windows all over the place.
Exactly. And the exact same principle can work on offense as well. If you can buy enough time to set up your DPS on all these flank angles, and that might be what we're seeing from the Leviathans.
Yeah, Brawlers looking like they're actually picking something that we talked about before the previous map, something that might work out for them because it requires less, you know, tracking, mechanical skill, flick aiming, whatever you want to call it. So they're going to be running the traditional, the OG goats.
It is nice to know at least that account number 5 can access Hero Select, can play something other than the Orisa, and it's a little bit of a difference. I guess you've still got a shield, but other than that, they're finally making the swap. They're running the Moira Goats composition, the console classic.
But they're not. They swapped out the Reinhardt for a Junkrat. A Reinhardt is absolutely key. You know, you've got to have the Reinhardt, otherwise it's not going to work.
I mean, he's obnoxious, he makes space, he's basically a tank.
Yeah, okay, you heard it here first, guys. Vowels thinks that Junkrat is a tank, but Monster Chafe taking out the Brigitte means that this is just going to be absolutely opening the doors. Takey Boy Jeff with a follow-up, taking another D-Mech Diva. There's really nothing Brawlers can do at this point to stop this happening.
And it's interesting, the composition Leviathans rolled out actually. This was something that, with the rise, when Wrecking Ball first came out, something we were predicting would come up in the meta a lot. This kind of triple tank dive, pair it with a Genji, the Lucio Moira, high mobility supports as well. Something we thought we'd see a lot more of. Unfortunately, it's not very strong against these tank compositions all the time. But when you don't have the Reinhardt there to shut it down, then you're letting it just run wild.
Yeah, it's I maybe understand wanting to play the Junkrat here if it's your comfort pick, and you know, fair play, they're already at their ultimate, but it's just not how this is run, and I can't see it working out for them.
I feel like Steak Boy Jeff likes to take pleasure in playing slightly niche heroes. So we saw him getting value on the Tracer earlier, but he played a lot of Mei, now coming up on the Wrecking Ball. Sure, Wrecking Ball's a little bit more common than Mei, but the heroes we don't see too much of.
I do like that nice combination there from the the Power Driver and the Fire Strike coming in, but Mr. Adrenaline now playing the other Shimada brother, having played Hanzo for most of the game, does manage to get a kill with the Dragon Blade. BCJ, Benny Jelly following up, and Brawlers, frankly, may as well not even be here. Leviathan steamrolling right the way through them.
You want to talk about a combination? The pile driver with the Dragon Blade as well. Keeps everyone in one spot, they can't really move, and it's just easy pickings for Mr. Adrenaline. We're seeing Stateboy Jeff again just running havoc in the backline, does get shut down briefly by the Orisa Hulk, but he's able to pop his barrier, get so much more health, and now the rest of the Leviathans come rolling in.
Yeah, they have got the sound barrier finally committed for Brawlers, but it looks like the Earth Shatter in over the top is going to be able to wait out almost all of that additional temporary health. Not entirely sure what happened to Junkrat. Junkrat falling down, still has his ultimate, has had this ultimate for most of point 2, and now going to have it all the way through point C. It needs to come in now, but BCJ with a follow-up there, taking out both tanks for Brawlers.
Leviathans locked in a deadly King's Row speedrunning competition against the Swarm we saw earlier. 5.5 minutes on the time bank coming through the third point. With this Graviton online, coming up on another Dragon Blade, it's looking really good right now. The Brawlers need to get good value out of this Coalescence and Riptire.
Yeah, they need to be careful here, Leviathans. If they are not careful, they've maybe been underestimating this D.Va. This D.Va could catch the Graviton Surge. That would absolutely... But no, it goes into the wall, buying all the space in the world for the butter knife to come out and slice the way through. We're finally going to see the tire coming out. Does manage to take out Mr. Adrenaline, but is that going to be enough? I sincerely doubt it, especially when we've got the Earth Shatter coming in. There are no shields. No, we do have... Sorry, I missed it. The Orisa is back in line. It needs to be an absolutely on-point shield here if it's going to stop this Earth Shatter coming in. The Moira there managing to actually... Whoa! Finally! This is the sort of play we were hoping to see from Brawlers. It's the Graviton self-destruct combo you all know and love in this composition, and it comes in big.
That's a better Grav Bomb combo than I've seen from some contenders teams.
That's a bit of shade for the contenders community there, I think. They may have some questions to ask you following on from this.
Actually, Brawlers with a composition that kind of makes sense on this defense. 2 healers, both really good, high mobility, getting lots of value out of this Junkrat, a triple tank as well, but you can't afford to lose your Junkrat and your Lucio early like that. It falls apart at the last second.
No,
and
we've got
now
the minefield committed as well, meaning that it's going to be so hard for Brawlers to get in and actually do anything to contest. 2 meters left on the cart. That is going to be all she wrote. Just as we were starting to see a bit of spirit from Brawlers, Leviathans come and stomp all over said spirit.
Yeah, it's great work being able to put up a bit of a fight there on the third point. And although we've questioned these Orisa compositions, that last one, it wasn't the worst thing we've seen all day. I could at least understand the intuition behind it, and I like if it could have worked, if they could have got something going, then it could have really paid off. You just couldn't afford to lose the Junkrat and the Lucio that early. And it was great work by Mr. Adrenaline and BCJ to punish those out-of-position players.
Yeah, I'd like to think that we're starting to see Brawlers maybe learning a couple of lessons here from this. But unfortunately, if you're going to be coming into these matches, this cannot be the time that you're learning lessons. You've got to come in prepared and ready to go. And I think really the takeaway here is Orisa is not a pick for every map and every composition.
Definitely not.
But yeah, it's unfortunate because they were starting to make a bit of progress on that final one, but just a little bit too late. I'm going to be interested to see what they're running here on offense.
It looks like it's going to be maybe a little bit of a death ball. We're seeing the Reinhardt solo tank on offense, and I'm just alone at the moment. But again, Leviathans swapping things up a little bit. Looks like it's going to be a death ball of their own. Mr. Adrenaline pulling out the McCree. Not something we've seen so much from him today. We've seen plenty of flashing McCree play with Anatra in the earlier series. First time Mr. Adrenaline's coming out on this hero, but with some of the great aim we've seen from him on other heroes, more projectile heroes like the Hanzo and the Genji, I could see it pay off. I feel like Leviathans are maybe anticipating a Pharah offense based on what they've seen on previous maps, and that's why they're pulling out the double hit scan here with Stateboy Jeff on the Ashe as well. The Ashe also, with the Dynamite, can do so much damage against some of these slow-moving tanks that we've seen from the Brawlers as well. Pretty good, pretty smart picks, going up, knowing your opposition and countering it.
So, kind of a scattered first offense from Brawlers here. Not quite sure what they were looking to achieve with that. We've got sort of a slightly staggered rotation. The Reaper here trying to get maybe a bit of a cheeky flank, but sort of abandoning the rest of his team. I hope this is a thing that they are communicating, and that's unfortunate. Of course, a nice big meaty counter to a Reaper is a flashbang and a fan the hammer. Not a lot you can do through that, I'm afraid.
That's a pretty meaty counter to just about every hero in this game at this point.
Here's your daily reminder that fan the hammer does more damage than Pulse Bomb.
Yeah, Tracer, let's not talk about the spot Tracer's in. It's looking really good for Leviathans right now. Already starting to build up a lot of ult charge. Serendipity, moving off to trusting Moira onto the standard, is already 70% to a nano boost. Be interesting to see who we pair that with. Maybe Mr. Adrenaline going for the electric cowboy combo. Maybe Benny Jelly to help build up that Graviton a bit quicker. But he's looking really good right now.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing the situation one more time where Brawlers just don't look to have the answers to the questions that Leviathan is asking. And the Reinhardt from Brawlers spending a huge amount of time out in the open with that Discord Orb on them, subsequently dying a lot of the time, spending a lot of time with the shield up just trying to stave off that damage, means that you are a long way off getting the ultimate. You are halfway to your ultimate when BCJ already has Earth Shatter.
And Brawler's Reinhardt didn't really stand a chance there. Sure, he had the Mercy pocket, but he was discorded, combined out with a great Dynamite coming up from Snakeboy Jeff, and it was just easy cleanup. And now, another trusty flashbang combo, this time paired with a headshot, punishing an out-of-position Mercy.
There we go, he is taken out though, but BCJ taking out the reposing Reinhardt does mean that that's not going to be a fight that they can win. Valkyrie comes into the fight, not entirely sure what they're expecting to achieve here, with 2 players down already, maybe just trying to get out without taking too much more damage. I do like the aggression from BCJ, clearly just looking to try and track that Mercy and get a fire strike.
Speaking of 2 players down though, this Hanzo from the Brawlers managed to find 2 picks in that fight, so that does open up a window now for the Brawlers to start to move in.
So I could be wrong about this, but it does look like we're seeing the Hanzo come out from the same player that was running the Orisa.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting hero pool that you've got there if you can run Orisa and Hanzo, especially if you can get 2 picks like that in the fight.
Unfortunately though, lacking some of the aggressive presence we're seeing from the Leviathan, the Brawlers can't capitalise on the advantage. Instead going for this rotation play to set up the Hanzo on the high ground, it means that the rest of the players are just dying in choke. That's the Moira and the Symmetra falling, Dragon Strike invested, but it's just immediately counteracted by this Transcendence.
Yeah, and of course it didn't look to be particularly online, so the Transcendence was popped, it was a nice reflex, but it doesn't seem necessarily like it was even required. I think they could have just held on to that one, but we've got Mr. Adrenaline with the High Noon on the high ground, looking to try and get that pesky 6-man High Noon. Watch out for it, guys, I'm sure that's what's being looked for, but of course you don't need the High Noon if you've got 2 cowboys on the high ground with guns that can reach you before you can get even anywhere close to them.
And there's still 5 ultimates online for Leviathans. They haven't really been forced to invest anything so far, whereas Brawlers constantly popping their ultimates out of sync with each other, just trying to make some kind of breakthrough. We'll see if they can get value out of this coalescence. It's a nice shatter, but they need to follow up.
Of course, Shatter with a Bob coming in. You often see this the other way with the Shatter paving the way for your own Bob. And yeah, unfortunately Bob not featuring a lot in the kill feed, but you don't necessarily need that giant robot butler when Mr. Adrenaline is there with a 6-shooter all of his own.
Yeah, Death Blossom invested, doesn't find anything, immediately shielded away, and now just 20 seconds left on the board for Brawlers to find some kind of glory in this matchup. Zoned away from the Deadeye from Mr. Adrenaline, doesn't actually find a pick, but you need to touch the point.
Yeah, at this point you've got to get in. I think we've not even seen, this might be the first contest we've seen, but it's the D.Va. The D.Va comes in and gets immediately demexed and taken out of the fight, and we have got a kill. The Ash pick there taking out the Reinhardt, but it's going to be, once again, too little too late, and Leviathans take map number 4 in very convincing style.
It was unfortunate for the Brawlers that because they were having to invest ultimates just to try and push through the choke, whereas Leviathans could hold on to theirs. 20 seconds left, you know it's going to be last fight territory. Leviathans just unleash all their ultimates into the Brawlers. This was a pretty nice shatter.
Yeah,
opened up by the Reinhardt charging in, and Mercy, there's nowhere to run.
No, that's really unfortunate, but I think it's nice that someone else got a look in on play of the game, because it has been Mr. Adrenaline for every other play so far, so nice to see BCJ getting a little bit of recognition at the end there.
Yeah, you've got to at least share some of the glory with your main tanks, especially one as reliable as BCJ was this series. We didn't talk about anyone other than Mr. Adrenaline really for Leviathans, for good reason.
Yeah.
Snakeboy Jeff was up there a little bit, but
Yeah,
other than
absolutely.
that, Serendipity had some good moments. I do feel like we didn't appreciate those tanks enough. BCJ and Benny Jelly looking really good, setting up so many plays.
And Benny Jelly actually spending a lot of time in the kill feed, very, very high charges area. It does seem to me a little bit like we were not getting the levels of avoidance, people still aiming at the Zarya bubbles whilst they're up, so a lot of time high charge means you're going to spend a lot of time in the kill feed.
The other problem I think we saw from the Brawlers is that when you have a DPS player like Leviathan's Mr. Adrenaline, who's just wrecking shop, then you maybe start to fixate on that player a little bit too much, and it opens it up for the tanks like BCJ and Benny Jelly to just shut you down. And that was a big part of why Benny Jelly could farm so much energy, because she was just a second thought. The main fixation was trying to shut down Mr. Adrenaline.
Yeah, and unfortunately not effective enough at shutting down Mr. Adrenaline. We've spoken about him at length, ad nauseum, throughout the course of this game, being incredibly impactful. So I think really really, all that's left to do now is to say thank you for our teams for letting us cast them this evening. It's been a really entertaining evening of Overwatch. Please tune in next week. We're going to be seeing Harriers versus Spartan and Lionheart versus Armada, so that's going to be really interesting. Spartan's one of the more highly ranked teams in the Arena Clash.
Of course, they reached the finals of the last bit. Definitely a team we're going to expect a lot from.
Yeah, so those are going to be some really impactful matches, and I hope you'll tune in to join us. Now, you might have watched this evening's games and thought, this is really good, this looks like a lot of fun, how can I get involved? And the answer is really, really simple. You can go along to your local belong.gg arenas, simply search for them on your social media platform of choice, or we've got a little, there we go, that side, I know how reflections work. Down at the bottom, visit us online and find your local store, come in and just start playing with like-minded people, and who knows, in the next season you can find yourself on stage with some of the players we've been talking about tonight. But for this evening, I've been Birmingham Hungry Phil.
I've been Vals.
And we hope you'll join in next week for more Overwatch Arena Clash.